now. All right, what is going on, guys? I think we are live. It's Randall Thor 19 here, back with another episode of the Xbox 2 podcast. Sorry about an hour late. Ran into something I absolutely had to do before we started, but we're here. Another day, another week, another show. And with me, as always, the one and only Jez Corden from Windows Central. What's going on, buddy?
Hey pal, pretty good man. How are you? Rocking and rolling. You had a plumbing issue, didn't you?
Yeah, something had to be taken care of ASAP. But we got it all finished and everything's all good. But man, it's been an eventful week. We got some stuff here to talk about. But before we get into that, everyone make sure you let me know if the audio's jacked up in any way so I can fix it. Like, I haven't changed anything from the last time we did the show, but let me know if everything is good, and if it's not, I'll fix it.
Oh,
Yeah.
have I lost you? Hello?
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry
I've
about
lost
that.
Rand.
No, I'm here.
Oh.
I'm sorry about that. Anyways, so
Professional podcast.
yeah. So, as everybody files in here, hit the like button, share this out, because YouTube does a terrible job of that. And we have, first super chat, Alex Wilson. He says, top of the morning, boys, from Brisbane, Australia. Appreciate that, man. All the way from Australia. You got to be what? It's got to be Friday for you already, right?
Yeah, there. He's talking to us from the future. How cool is that? From the future.
Somebody wants to know if I have a full-time job or do I do YouTube and Twitch. I actually have a job. I actually go to school and I actually do YouTube in my spare time. So, yeah. Anyways, before we actually talk about what, the topics we're going to talk about, obviously Xbox new IP for next gen, Modern Warfare, Boycott because of PS4 exclusive mode, Last of Us removing multiplayer, causing a PlayStation fan civil war like I've never seen before, Xcloud finally coming next month, Inside Xbox and how it could be improved, a whole bunch of topic lists. Obviously, your comments matter to us, so put them in chat. And, if you have an interesting topic to discuss, we will definitely talk about it. But before we get into that, it's a games played section. Jez was just telling me about a game he's been playing called The Bard's Tale, which I've never played, so I'm kind of interested. Jez, how's that game going?
Yeah, this is like I got to the end of Monster Hunter World. I'm in the end game now. So I kind of feel like I don't have to play it as hardcore as I have been, because now rather than grinding, I just wait for people to come online and just play with them a little bit more casually. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna dig into my backlog now, and I looked at what games have been updated recently, because just my games list was just sorted by last update, right? The Bard's Tale 4 had an update recently, and it was just high up in my list. And you know what? I was like, this game is by InXR, which Microsoft bought. I've never played a Bard's Tale game, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a go and find out what exactly Microsoft have purchased here. Because Microsoft own this franchise now. They own the Bard's Tale franchise, and presumably they're going to make a Bard's Tale 5 with the bigger budgets and all that sort of stuff. For those who don't know, Bard's Tale is basically a first-person, turn-based fantasy RPG with dragons and monsters and all that sort of stuff. And it's actually not that bad. It's super janky and super indie. Like, the animations and graphics leave a lot to be desired, but it kind of reminds me of Oblivion in that vein. Like, do you remember how weird and janky Oblivion looked back in the day? But it still had all this heart and good writing and good atmospherics and stuff like that. That's what I'm getting from the Bard's Tale right now. But obviously it's all turn-based and stuff, which I think won't appeal to everyone. But I think there's real potential in this franchise. So if you're into turn-based RPGs, and classic, dungeon crawling, puzzle solving, and all that sort of thing, and you're interested in Xbox and what they've purchased, just give it a look. Like it's on Game Pass, I think, right?
Yeah, it is, and I believe also it's supposed to begin X enhanced soon as well. Um,
Yeah, that's right. So if you've got Game Pass, give it a try. Like, I'm not gonna say go out and buy it because, like I say, it is super janky, but it's just kind of charming, and I feel like I'm back on Oblivion. So yeah, that's the other game I've been playing besides Monster Hunter. I also had a quick go on Planet Zoo beta. I know you're probably not interested in that, right?
Absolutely not. No.
Planet Zoo is kind of like it's one of those building simulator games, which kind of like a guilty pleasure for me. But it's kind of like Zoo Tycoon, but with loads of features. I guess it's by the people who made Planet Coaster, so there's like tons of stuff to do, animals to raise, breed, and it's the kind of game that I play when I just don't want to think and I just want to zone out and lose hundreds of hours to building a zoo. So it seems pretty good, but man, it is really poorly optimized on PC right now. So I'm hoping they get some of those patches in before it goes live proper. That's pretty much it for me, man. Haven't been playing much else besides Monster Hunter, which, still obsessed with.
You are
But
pretty obsessed with that because when I posted my tweet about Ori 2 and Last of Us 2, two amazing games that are coming out February of next year, right? And I knew there would be comments. I knew there would be
there's a lot of comments.
fanboy trash comments, right? Some people thought I was trying to compare Ori 2 to Last of Us 2, which you can't really compare two games like that. Like, one is a single player AAA cinematic, third person shooter, I guess, like stealth, like combat, and one is like a Metroidvania platformer. They're not really games you can compare. One of them is done by Naughty Dog, a studio with hundreds of people and millions of dollars of budget, and the other one's done by a small indie team that doesn't even really have a studio, right? Because Moon Studios is, as far as I remember, like Tom is saying, like they're all across the world. And people kind of like come together and work, but there's not like one central place. So it's not. But like the thing is, like Ori's so goddamn amazing, and the sequel looks so much better than like it has any right to be. And then here's Last of Us Part 2, which if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that I love The Last of Us 1. I'm really looking forward to that game. It's going to be a game of the generation candidate alongside like stuff like God of War and Witcher 3 and
Wasteland 2.
Well, yeah, every person has their own game of the generation candidates. So I was like, man, 10 days apart, you're going to experience Ori 2, which I know is going to be an amazing time. And then 10 days later, Last of Us 2. But man, I will tell you this. Some of the PlayStation guys did not like that tweet whatsoever. At all. And and it's weird because I don't understand why. I wasn't even trying to compare either of them. It was just like, hey, you got one great game coming, and then another great. And then you think about like next year, you have that game, you have Ori, you got Last of Us, you have like Final Fantasy VII Remake, you got the Avengers game, you have Cyberpunk 2077, you got Watch Dogs Legion. Who knows what else is, I'm sure there's more games yet to be announced. Man, like this generation's going out with a bang, especially the beginning of next year. But, whew. I didn't think I'd get that many bad comments, but I did. There's a few people there that showed their ass, absolutely showed their ass.
Showed their ass?
I mean, not in the literal sense, but you know what I mean, right? You like they really came out standing hard for PlayStation, which PlayStation doesn't really need your, standing up to that point. Like, who am I? I'm a nobody. Who are you? You're definitely a nobody. Like you come in there and you say Ori's trash and shouldn't be compared to, the majesty of Last of Us 2 or whatever, right? But either way, that was definitely an interesting tweet. I'm gonna be playing both those games, and it's going to be an amazing February for me next year. And shout out to Spider-Man for the super chat. He says, if Xbox has no games, does that mean PlayStation has no multiplayer? Whew. people going in already about that. We'll definitely be getting to that.
There's some spicy hot takes.
Yeah, so what have I been played? Well, I finished Borderlands 3, which review will be out tomorrow. But I liked it. I finished it. I finished around, I think I finished at level 43. I have like 45 hours in the game, so I got my money's worth. I played it mostly solo. It was enjoyable. Could have been better, but I mean, if you're looking
Which
for
game is this?
Borderlands 3, Borderlands 3.
Borderlands 3. All right.
Yeah,
you finished it then.
Yeah, I finished it. You know, I completed my playthrough. I doubt I will go back and play it some more. I doubt I will grind to get more guns because I'm just not that type of person. I'm not that type of gamer. Plus, we have a ton of other games coming out. I mean, there's Ghost Recon coming out and all these other games coming out, right? So, video will be out about that tomorrow. I got a whole backlog of reviews and videos I need to get through. But, Jez, I played a game that was absolutely incredible. A game that I had no expectations about going into. A game that, honestly, is one of the more unique experiences I've had this generation. And definitely probably
Finally played Monster Hunter then.
No, I didn't play Monster Hunter because when you talk about this game and you talk about Monster Hunter doesn't even compare, Jez.
Bro. This game better be good then. This better be good, Rand. I hope you're not gonna tell me it's some kind of music rhythm game or something.
Shut up! You shut up, Jez. How'd you know I was gonna talk about that, huh? How'd you know?
I don't know. Sidekick. I don't know.
Yeah. So I finished, and obviously I put up a video about Sayonara Wild Hearts, a game that came out of nowhere, and a game I love dearly. Jazz, you need to play this game. I'm going to get you to play this game.
Isn't it an Apple Arcade exclusive or something?
Yeah. I mean, no, it's on PlayStation and Switch. It's on every relevant platform, and it's not on Xbox, so what should that tell you?
Oh, okay. Well, tell us about this game that's so good on Apple Arcade. When I hear the words Apple Arcade, my brain just starts shutting down. Man, I hate to say it.
Why does your brain shut down when you hear Apple Arcade, Jess? I'm trying to understand this.
It's got Apple. It's got Apple in the name. And Apple are bad. Didn't you know?
But is Google worse though?
Google's pretty bad, but Apple's. Let's not get into this round because you won't win.
I mean, maybe we should discuss this at some point. The Apple Arcade versus Google Game Pass. The Google Game
Pass? I didn't even know that was a thing.
You didn't even hear about Google Game Pass?
No, I didn't.
All right.
Is that real?
Yeah. So, all right. Let's first.
Google Stadia?
No. This is something different. So we'll talk about that as soon as we get this game played stuff done and we get into the regular topics. Sayonara Wild Hearts is what I would describe as a high-score, rhythm-based interactive music video. Right? It's an hour long, and it's a game where you control a character, you kind of like move left and right alongside a, think like Guitar Hero-ish, and hearts come down the road, you try to collect them while avoiding obstacles, all set to a amazing soundtrack with incredible visuals, and it tries to tell a story, and it tells a story pretty damn good. But Jez, there's really nothing like it out there, dude. It's $12, and I know it's only an hour long, but honestly, it's worth
for an hour long.
Or you could sign up to Apple Arcade and play it for free. Whatever.
Play it for free.
I mean,
you have to sell your soul to Apple first.
I mean, I'm just saying, Jez, you need to check this game out.
Yeah, I'm triggered right now. I'm triggered. Talking about Apple on my favorite podcast. Oh god.
It's totally. Look at the Indie Gamer agrees with me. He says Sayonara Wild Hearts is awesome. Indeed, it is freaking
I'm
amazing.
Intrigued. I respect your opinions on most things. So I'm intrigued, and I will check it out. At least the trailer or something.
See, it's more of an experience than anything else. Like, sure, you can go after the gold medals and try to collect that stuff if that's something that interests you, to try to perfect it. But for me, and even for a lot of games, like a lot of the reasons I play games is for the experience of immersing myself in the world and playing through it and learning about the characters and the story and how the gameplay fits in, right? So
Did you feel immersed when you played the Barbie horse riding game?
no, I did that stuff strictly for achievements. That was one goal. There was one goal for games like Barbie Horse Adventure and Hannah Montana and My Horse and Me and any of those
My
other.
horse and me.
Yeah, I
How many
played.
horse games are there?
I mean,
I
there's
don't
quite
even...
a bit. There's quite a bit. You go back to the 360 era, not to mention games like Meet the Robinsons, and at the time, back during the 360 era, every single kind of big release had a licensed video game to go along with it. You remember? So like all the Pixar movies all had their own games. So I played all those as well, like Up, like Bolt and stuff like that. Like I played a lot of those.
Were any of them good? Any of them?
Were any
All
of
these
them
licensed
good?
games?
I wouldn't recommend any of them, no. But at the time, they were pretty easy gamer score, and gamer score was. And this was, keep in mind, this was at a time when achievements in gamer score were difficult to get, unlike now, where they literally hand them out like candy. It was a little bit different.
I often hear Gamerscore people. We're going wildly off topic here, but I often hear Gamerscore fans talk about how Gamerscore's just not that good anymore because it's so easy to get now. Is that a thing?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you could have made, and I've talked about this with my friends, right? Like, gamer scores never really meant much anyways, right? It basically just shows, hey, does this person plays a lot of games, has a lot of time, spent a lot of money, right, et cetera, et cetera. But with the Xbox One, see, the big change was that arcade games were 200 gamer score on the Xbox 360. They increased it to 400 like a few years in late in the generation. But for the Xbox One, they made the change where a game is a game is a game. And Call of Duty has 1,000 gamer score, so something like, Sayonara Wild Hearts would also have 1,000 gamer score, right?
Oof.
But the problem is, small indie developers and publishers started taking advantage of it. There's this developer out there or a publisher out there called Radalaika, right? They publish games, and every single one of their published games, most of the time, is pure trash, right?
Oof.
But 100% of the time, it's completely easy for achievements. And like most of their games, you don't even need to finish the game to actually get all the achievements. So you have an entire community that's sprung up around buying these games every single week because it'll pad out your gamer score. Not to mention the ACA Neo Geo games. They basically put all the ACA Neo Geo games on Xbox as well as Windows 10, and those are, for the most part, not every single one of them, but those are ridiculously easy for gamer score as well. So yeah, it kind of has led to this thing with there's so many indie games, and a lot of them aren't very good, but a lot of them are short and easy for gamer score. That, it's kind of made it all kind of meaningless in my example. See, Joe Taylor says, Randy, in your opinion, what's better, achievements or getting a platinum? You see, there's no difference between achievements and trophies, right? At all. I mean, achievements are trophies are achievements. I will say, though,
there's a tool developers can use to convert an achievement into a trophy.
I will say, though, platinums are pretty damn cool. And it is something I wish Xbox did. I've talked to people at Microsoft.
Are when you get,
like, when you complete all the achievements, or when you complete all the trophies in a game, you get another trophy saying, hey, congratulations, you completed this game. And I wish there was something similar to that for Xbox. And I've had this conversation with Phil Spencer. I've had this conversation with Mike Ybarra. I've had this conversation with Aaron Greenberg. I've had this conversation with my other friends at Xbox. Like, hey, that would be cool. That would be cool to have, like, not necessarily an extra achievement to unlock to say, hey, you got this, but, like, when you complete it, you just get, like, a notification or something that pops up that says, hey, congrats, you've completed all the achievements in this game, and there's, like, there's, like, something in your profile you can click on that would show you all the games that you have, like, all the achievements in, right? I've talked to them all about this, and, they all think it's a good idea, or have thought it's a good idea. It's just, I guess it's a matter of just, like,
Priorities.
Exactly. Is it that much? Should we prioritize achievements and completions for the small percentage of people who care, or do we prioritize Xcloud? Obviously, you prioritize Xcloud and other things that would do that, because the achievement stuff is kind of whatever. But that's just kind of a little side note about that. But so back to the games played. What else have I played? Oh, the Sojourn, which I also put out a video about. A very pretty.
Isn't that pronounced Sojourn?
The Sojourn. I don't know how you say it in
British.
in British, because you're like controversy, the Sojourn, whatever. Either way, it's a pretty looking, like, first person puzzle game, right? Very much like in the vein of Portal or the Turing Test or Talos Principle or Cube 2, like that style of game. The problem is it's nowhere near as good as those other ones, Jez, because the puzzles aren't as interesting and the story is told basically through environmental storytelling. Like when you come into an area, statues form. So in like one area it'll be like a kid surrounded by, things. And then the next area you go to will be like, oh, now he's kind of like grown up and there's these other things. So you're supposed to like look at it and kind of get a sense of what the game's trying to tell you, like going on with the story. But it's set up just like all the other ones. Like you go into a room, there's a puzzle you have to solve, rinse, repeat for the entire game. So it's just like, it's set up just like all those other ones. But the mechanics in this one aren't very good. Like there's a light world and a dark world. And when you're in the dark world, things change. Like there'll be a destroyed bridge in the light world, but when you're in the dark world, now suddenly the bridge is fixed. There's like a ghost section of the bridge that is you can traverse now, but it's only there in the dark world. And you can interact with things in the dark world, like you can swap places with statues, because there are statues that you need to put into like containers that unlock the gates to finish the levels. There are things that only work in the dark level. And so the game's all about that. It's all about kind of solving these puzzles in between these two realities, and the puzzles themselves are just boring. I finished the game, and it took me about 6 hours, and I honestly can't really recommend it at the current price of $25. Like maybe if you're super into puzzle games, pick it up for $10 or $5. But that's about it. But, that's what I played. Finished Borderlands 3, 45 hours into it. Review coming tomorrow. The Sayonara and the Sojourn. Kind of just waiting for Ghost Recon to come out. I think I might actually play like Creature in the Well or maybe some smaller games before, I spend a lot of time with Ghost Recon.
What about that Close to the Sun? Have you seen that?
Yeah, Close to the
Like
Sun.
one of your games.
Yeah, Close to the Sun seems like a game I would enjoy. It came out already on PC. I think it was an Epic Store exclusive. Maybe I'm wrong on that. It looks pretty cool. I definitely want to check it out when I when I have the time. But yeah, so that's what we've been playing. So we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff. But since Jazz didn't know there was a thing called Google Game Pass, I figured we have to talk about that because, God, it really does seem we're just getting swamped with subscription services. I swear to God, not only in gaming, but in like entertainment in general. Like you got Netflix, you got Hulu, you have Amazon Prime, you have now Disney Plus, you got the new HBO Max, or people have HBO Go, but there's that new one coming out like HBO Max. You have NBC with their Peacock one. So you have all this entertainment stuff like for movies and TV shows, but that's not even to mention like music. You got like Spotify,
Apple Music.
Yeah, Apple Music. I mean, even YouTube has their premium service that
Google has too. They've got like Google Play Music and then YouTube Music, and they've got different libraries, I believe.
Yeah,
which is insane.
So it's crazy,
but
and
it's almost as if subscription services make a lot of money. It's almost as if that.
It's almost like they do, but I do wonder if at some point the market becomes
Saturated.
oversaturated, and the ones that don't do good kind of die off. Because let's look at the ones we have in gaming. EA has their own EA Access on console and Origin Access on PC, and I would say that the Origin one is much better deal, right? I can kind of hear myself coming through your mic, by the way, Jazz.
Oh, you shouldn't. Hang on, I'll turn you down a bit. How's that?
Should be good, I think. I don't know if anybody else can hear it. I haven't seen anybody say anything, but I was hearing it. But it's not that big of a deal unless anybody else can hear it. But yeah. So what do we got? We have Origin Access and EA Access. Same thing. Different on the PC, where you pay like $100 a year and you have access to all their games from day one and even early. Where on on console it's not the same. You get like a 10-hour trial and access to the games in the vault. I think that one's a little bit better. Ubisoft has their own coming soon on PC only. And then, of course, you get to the platform holders. Microsoft launched Xbox Game Pass. Sony has been doing a subscription service called PlayStation Now since like 2013. Am I missing anybody else? Because we're going to talk about Apple Arcade and Google. Am I missing anybody else there, Jez?
I don't know. I think that's it. You got Switch Online, which comes with Super Nintendo stuff, and they actually recently added that, didn't they? They added a Super Nintendo game library to people who subscribe to Switch Online. I subscribe to that because I like playing Super Metroid. So
you did, huh?
I did, yeah. I subscribe to Switch Online.
Yeah.
Don't you?
No, I don't subscribe. I don't subscribe to Switch Online. I don't subscribe to PlayStation Plus, mainly because PlayStation Plus is a service you subscribe to play multiplayer games on PlayStation, and I'm not on PlayStation enough to actually use that feature, so I don't obviously have it. I was subscribed. Well, I've been subscribed to Xbox Live Gold ever since I got an Xbox, so we're talking since 14 years, 15 years now, since 2004 and Halo 2. So yeah, I do subscribe to Xbox Live Gold, but I look at that as a different kind of subscription than like Game Pass and PlayStation Now and all those other ones, right? I think it's a little bit. I look at it a little bit differently.
Like losing track of them. I subscribe to Spotify. I subscribe to YouTube Premium because I like having the background audio for audiobooks and stuff like that. I subscribe to Amazon Prime, even though I never watch the Prime stuff, but I do buy a lot of packages. I subscribe to Xbox Live, Game Pass Ultimate. Well, just Game Pass Ultimate for both. That's a lot. I subscribe to Netflix Premium tier for the 4K streams. I got Switch Online. I subscribe to that. I don't subscribe to PlayStation Now. Man, that's a lot of subscriptions. I wonder how much money I could save if I cut some of those out of my life.
Probably quite a bit.
Yeah. It all adds up. Like you just think oh, it's only £10 a month. It's only £10 a month. But then before you know it, you've got 10 of them. So really, it's like £100 a month.
Yeah, I know, right? It's absolutely crazy. I think, obviously, I've subscribed to Game Pass Ultimate. I did that deal where I got 3 years for basically nothing. I subscribed to Amazon Prime mainly for the shipping, but I do watch a couple of the shows. I do have a subscription to HBO, so I have HBO Go. But I'm on my friend's account for Netflix. I'm on my friend's account for Hulu. So I don't necessarily pay for those. But then again, he game shares with me, so it's all right. You know what I mean? Yeah, but definitely, if you're subscribing to all the subscription services, it definitely costs a lot of money. So Apple Arcade, though, Jazz, $5. All the games in it really don't have any microtransactions. They're supposed to be high quality indie titles, not the cash grab bullshit that most mobile games are known for. You know what I'm saying? Sayonara Wild Hearts is a great game. It's a concise game. It knows what it is. It's an hour long. It's on Apple Arcade. There's no in-app purchases. It's a complete game. There's also this other game that I saw that's on Xbox called Overland. It's kind of like XCOM, like an indie XCOM, a game that you probably would like, Jez, if you like XCOM, and it's
But
also
I
on
hate
Apple Arcade.
I
What?
hate Apple. I hate
I
Apple.
know you
I
hate
hate.
Apple, but I'm saying it's also on Xbox. It's also on PlayStation.
Okay, that's okay then.
So
That's fine.
it's a quality indie title that just also happens to be on Apple, right?
I hate
So,
Apple.
and even when I was like reading up about it, like so basically, Patrick Klepek, he's been saying he from what he knows, like nobody's really sure how they pay for it. A lot of people assumed Apple pays it as a time plate thing or a number of downloads, but he was saying that he's heard that Apple might actually pay an upfront fee, which is exactly how Xbox Game Pass does it. Because there's been a lot of misinformation floating around about Xbox Game Pass. A lot of people assume that developers get paid by the time by the amount of time that people play their games in Game Pass, and that's 100% not true. Microsoft basically cuts them a check and be like, we have your game in Game Pass for X amount of months. So they get paid upfront, right? But with Google Game Pass, Jazz, you can see where this is going to be a little different. Not only is it for games, it also has apps as well. But you get paid based on time spent in your game. So it incentivizes a lot of time wasting games, a lot of games that a lot of in-app purchases and stuff like that. And developers have come out pretty hard against Google Game Pass. So,
Oof.
yeah. So which one do you think is better? Is a better deal, Apple Arcade or Google Game Pass?
Oh, well, the thing is, when it comes to Android, Android has like this gargantuan, absolutely massive install base, but apparently they've got really bad conversions. Like Android users just don't spend money because it is so easy to pirate an Android game, and everyone knows how to do it. You literally just download a file off the internet and then run it on your phone, and you've got it. So the conversion rates for Android is really bad. So whether or not Apple offers a better deal or not, I don't know. But the conversion rates for Apple and iOS and the engagement is just seems to be better. I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but that's the rule of thumb. Like that's why, even though iOS has a smaller install base globally, app developers prioritize Apple and iPhone because that's where the engagement is, even though it's got a smaller install base than Android. It's the devil's always in the details.
Interesting. Interesting.
It is.
But enough about the mobile stuff. I just thought that was an interesting discussion point, considering Jez didn't even know the whole Google Game Pass thing. In addition to Google Stadia, which is launching in November,
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
which they said they've sold out of like Founders Editions in Europe.
Yeah, but it's like how many were available?
15. 15. 15,
Fi-
15 were available, and they sold out on that. All right. All right, good job, Google. My fear with Google Stadia is that streaming doesn't take off right away for obvious reasons, right? And Google shelves Stadia just like they shelve any other part of a new project that doesn't work out right away.
That's not my fear. That's my hope.
Well, that's
Because I
your
don't
hope,
think Google anywhere
but
near get.
I guess I should say maybe that's my hope too. But like, if I was somebody on the fence about Google Stadia, like you've seen how Google is with some of their other projects that don't work out. Why would you want to invest in the ecosystem of Stadia when there's a chance if it underperforms, they'll just completely be like, nah, we're not doing this anymore, right? I just don't get the sense that Google's in it for the long term. Like they say they are, sure. But like I
I'm
just
serious, man. It's like you see Microsoft cutting deals with publishers and carriers. You got T-Mobile and Vodafone putting out adverts for it already, saying like our network's going to be the best for Xcloud, blah blah blah. And like Google hasn't done any of that groundwork. They're just thinking, you know what, it'll be good enough. People will use it. You know, we'll get by with all the technology we've got and whatever, and people will just deal with it and accept it. But like Microsoft knows like what gamers want. They've got all the analytics, they've got all the data. Google doesn't have anything like that. They're sort of playing it by ear, trying to hire people in who might know stuff, but they don't have all that data to hand like Microsoft does. So I think like when it comes to who's really serious about this stuff, I can't even vaguely begin to take Google seriously. And like full disclosure, I hate Google. I absolutely hate Google. I think they're a crappy, shady company who have way too much power and need to be regulated to hell. The fact that they basically control the whole internet. Like they can bury entire businesses overnight by tweaking their algorithm for YouTube or Google, search. No company should have that kind of power. And frankly, I don't want them anywhere near gaming. If Stadia disappeared overnight, I would be happy. I would be seriously happy. But it is what it is, man. It is what it is, and I don't think they're serious. Like, they just don't seem serious about it. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I know my money's on Azure. So like PlayStation Now, which should be on Azure in the future, and Xcloud, obviously, which is on Azure, and they're gonna have that. It's not just Xcloud; it's like the Azure platform. And if Microsoft sells their technology forward, so other platforms can make streaming services, like, can't you imagine that they might be able to do Steam now and put it on Azure or something? Like, Microsoft would do that because that's what they're about. They're about selling services. It's not just about Game Pass. It's not just about Xcloud. It's about the technology actually working. Because, for example, Netflix, for example, is built entirely on Amazon's streaming technology.
Yes.
It's not like Netflix. It's not like Netflix went out and invented streaming codecs and stuff like that. They use Amazon's video technology and stuff like that. So on that basis, you've got to assume that Xcloud is not just going to be for Microsoft. They're going to sell that stuff. They're going to sell it as part of a package of deals and that sort of thing. But I don't know. Went off on a slight tangent there. But
That was a little slight, but I wanted to transition to the big story for the day. And yeah, some people might say, well, you guys are an Xbox podcast, which we primarily are, because that is our focus. But I gotta say, I'm going to also spin this story into a way where Xbox is involved in some manner, right? And that's the Last of Us 2 previews drop today, which, by the way, Last of Us 2 finally got a release date coming February 20th next year. Absolutely cannot wait. My two most anticipated games of next year are coming out 10 days apart. And it was the only reason State of Play was even worth watching. It was like, and then, okay, last 3 minutes, it's Last of Us 2, amazing, right? But today the previews drop from the press. And it's interesting because watching the reaction on Twitter and on social media, there is a contingent of PlayStation fans that are pissed off, and a contingent of PlayStation fans that are like, what's the big deal? Who cares? And it's all over Last of Us 2 and Naughty Dog removing the multiplayer of the game, right? So it's just a single player experience, and this is what they had to say about it. So Neil Druckmann says, it's so ambitious the game doesn't fit on one Blu-ray, it's on 2 discs. It's so ambitious that we actually decided to make it single player only. There's no multiplayer in Last of Us Part 2. We wanted to take all the resources to make this the biggest game we've ever done. Now, I think that the thing here is, like, Naughty Dog has made all these ambitious single-player games, and every single one of their games is always bigger than the one before it, so that's obviously more PR speak. And I think, the whole, like, oh, it's 2 discs, it's so big, is kind of also PR speak, and they're trying to spin off the no multiplayer as a good thing. Like, hey, like, this game is just so huge, we just couldn't do multiplayer, right? Now, the thing is here, and I'm gonna bring up like Xbox. Both camps are right to be. If you are somebody who loved Last of Us multiplayer, wanted to see how they can improve upon that and take it to the next level, then you're pissed off. I I agree. You have every right to be completely pissed off that they removed that. But then I understand the people in the other camp who are like, I only play Last of Us for the single player. I don't care about the multiplayer. So if I like them devoting all their resources to the single player. I don't care, right? I kind of am in like both camps because I look at it like this. Something like Halo. If 343 came out and said, you know what? This is the biggest Halo game we've ever made, and we're dropping multiplayer to focus on Master Chief and his story, and we're building the biggest single player and co-op experience that Halo's ever done, there'd be people who'd be like, awesome, that is absolutely amazing, because they don't play Halo multiplayer. Now, I would be pissed off because I play Halo multiplayer. You know, it was and still is probably my favorite type of multiplayer to play. So I'd be sitting there like, no. Halo's always been both. And you could make the argument, well, you can't really make that comparison because Naughty Dog, you know, it's always single player, but it's like, that's not necessarily the case. Like every single one of their games since Uncharted 2 has had some form of multiplayer in it. You know, Last of Us had multiplayer. Uncharted 4 had multiplayer. You know, Lost Legacy had Uncharted 4's multiplayer, so people just assumed Last of Us 2 would have it. But then again, I bring up another example, Gears 5. Well, let's say Gears 6. Let's say the next Gears. Coalition comes out and they're like, you know what, we've heard the criticism, the talk. We want to build the biggest Gears campaign ever, but to do so, we have to cut the multiplayer. So Gears 6 will be a much bigger game, a much bigger campaign, but no verses. And you know what? I'd be one of those people out there saying, good choice, good decision, 100%. Make that single player the best it could possibly be, right? Because I don't play Gears multiplayer, so I don't care if it's there or not. So I see it from both. For Halo, for a multiplayer game that I love, I don't want to see it go away, and I would be pissed if it did. But for Gears, a franchise that I do enjoy, but I don't play the multiplayer for, if they got rid of, I would be applauding the decision. Yes, focus more on the single player. That's where I'm coming from. So I see both sides of the argument here. I see, for the fans of Last of Us multiplayer, you are 100% right to be bitching about it, demanding that Naughty Dog, you know, patch it in. And then for the other players who are like, I only play Last of Us for the single player, I get it, man. Because I'd be the same way for Gears. I'd be the same way for Call of Duty, you know, the Call of Duty franchise. I don't play Call of Duty multiplayer.
That is pure insanity.
I understand. I'm a little bit different. I'm a little bit different.
Campaigns suck.
All I'm saying is that it all depends on the side of the fence you're sitting on. Multiplayer doesn't matter to me in Gears, so I wouldn't care if they took it away. Multiplayer matters to me in Halo, so I would care. Multiplayer doesn't matter to me in Call of Duty, so I wouldn't care if it was gone. I'm just saying, and it doesn't matter if millions play, you know, multiplayer for either of those or millions don't. I'm just saying, like, that's the situation. Now, I know you have a something to say about this. Just so go ahead. What do you got to say about this whole thing?
Well, I was just saying for me, because I tried Last of Us multiplayer like a million years ago, and it didn't hold my attention. And then I played Last of Us single player, and it was like, oh my god, this is like a revelation, you know? And, you know, it's, for me, and I'm not a massive Sony fan or anything like that, so I'm sort of speaking from the position of a normie who just sort of, you know, from the position of someone who just sort of hears what the common narrative is, or the common zeitgeist is, when it comes to people discussing about The Last of Us. And when it comes to discussions about The Last of Us, no one ever talks about the multiplayer, you know, amongst normal random people. And like, it's always, whenever people mention The Last of Us, it's always talking about the campaign, what it did for gaming, and raising the bar for animations and cinematic storytelling, and all that sort of stuff. Like, that's where it seems like the contribution to the industry that is represented by The Last of Us. That's what it seems like, and you know, the multiplayer certainly has its fan base, but if it had the engagement that Gears and Halo multiplayer has, you can bet your ass that it would be there day one. So like, I don't buy this sort of argument that, oh man, millions of people played it, millions play it every day and stuff like that. I don't buy that, because if people did play it like that, it would have been a worthwhile investment for either Sony to outsource it to another dev, which is basically what they do for Halo and Gears, is they outsource some of the multiplayer elements to third parties, like Splash Damage, for example. Like Splash Damage worked a lot on Halo and Gears. I believe it was Splash Damage anyway. And then you've got the other studios as well contributing to Halo multiplayer. I can't remember any of them off the top of my head, but there's a few, isn't there, Ron? There's more than two or three.
I mean, even the Gears multiplayer is outsourced to a certain degree as well. Yeah.
But like Sony couldn't find the studios to do it, or they didn't think it was worth spending the money.
I mean, here's the thing though with that is Sony also sells subscriptions to PlayStation Plus, which is a requirement for multiplayer. So they do have a vested economic interest in having one of their biggest franchises, require multiplayer, because it would, people would need PlayStation Plus for it.
That's even more why I trust the decision, because for them it's like, can we outsource it and get it up to the level of quality that is befitting of what Naughty Dog's doing with the campaign? And clearly they can't. Like, it would come across as tacked on, which is what I said.
Here's what I think happened. Okay, I think it wouldn't have been ready in time. I think like trying to get the multiplayer on day one would have delayed the game essentially a year. So now you're talking about as a PlayStation 5 game. Because if you go back to last year, around E3 time, Naughty Dog confirmed that Last of Us 2 had multiplayer. They were hiring for multiplayer programmers. But now there's no multiplayer. So there's a couple scenarios that happened. One, which I think is the most likely scenario, is that they sat down and realized multiplayer wasn't in a great shape, or wasn't up to the quality that Naughty Dog wants, or wouldn't be finished on time. And that's what I think happened. I think they thought that the multiplayer wouldn't be finished on time for launch in early 2020, and that if they were going to try to actually launch it together, it would have delayed the game, right? It would have delayed the game, and it would have been like a PS5, launch title alongside a PS4 release. And I don't think they were willing to do that. Two, it's still coming, but it's coming later. Like how Red Dead Redemption's 2 multiplayer came way later after the campaign. How Cyberpunk's multiplayer is coming way later after the campaign. Like, they're still working on it, but it will be something that they add down the road. It just won't be there at launch. Now,
why don't they just say that then?
Well, that's the thing. So it's like, why wouldn't you say that? Why wouldn't you be like, and for those who want the multiplayer, we'll have it for you later? But clearly something happened. It wasn't like they were just like, we're not doing multiplayer because they said it was there. They're hiring for it. Suddenly, now they say this was always a single-player experience, which I call bullshit on. Like I said, that whole, this is so ambitious, it's so ambitious, it was on 2 discs, that's all just PR speak to make it sound like a good decision, right? I'm just saying, like, when you look at what happened, like, clearly they were working on multiplayer, and now there's no multiplayer, so something happened. I think it was because it wouldn't have been finished in time, and the game would have been delayed. And I don't think they wanted that. Maybe, who knows, maybe they released the PlayStation 5 version of Last of Us Part 2, and that has multiplayer. We've already had Sony executives talking about how they want to do more multiplayer for their games next generation. Maybe this is one of them. Random Guy says they're still hiring for multiplayer designers for Last of Us 2. So, if they're still hiring for multiplayer designers for Last of Us 2, doesn't that kind of give credence to the thing that it wasn't going to be ready for launch, and they're just going to launch it later? I don't know.
I agree. I think it's coming. I think I don't think that it's it's like you say, they've got a vested interest in trying to get people on PlayStation now, but like it probably just wasn't ready and probably would have felt tacked on, and it would have like hurt the chances of making a good first impression, because first impressions are important, Rand.
Hmm.
Like we all know what happened to the Master Chief Collection. First impressions were pretty bad, and they've spent like the best part of like the last how many years, 3, 4, trying to repair its reputation. That's a pretty big investment, trying to repair that game's reputation. And like Halo Reach still isn't on PC yet. And
Well,
God knows what's going on with that.
but it's like what you said earlier. To most people, Last of Us is a single player experience. To most people, Naughty Dog makes single player only games. Do I
mean,
care?
honestly, like the passion, like when I said like they didn't want it to seem tacked on or whatever, like people took it like I was saying that the original Last of Us multiplayer was tacked on, and like reading it back, yeah, it kind of does read like that. But like the amount of passion that people have for the multiplayer in that mode makes me want to go back and give a second look, because
Right.
like it, people love that thing, even though it doesn't seem like it sort of made sort of a bigger dent on the wider consciousness of gaming and stuff. And I suppose part of that is because it's like platform locked and stuff like that, which is one of the reasons why Microsoft's putting its games on PC now, is to try and get more people on them. But I don't know. I think it's I would like I think like what you say. I think it's probably still coming.
I think it's still coming, but if it was, why not say it was? Why not saying we're working on the multiplayer for all you fans that like Last of Us 1's multiplayer? It's coming. We just need more time, and it'll launch after the game's out. There, everybody's satisfied. The people that want the single player experience are going to be like, "All right, we got it," and the people that want the multiplayer be like, "Well, we know it's coming." Because that's what I think people are just. There's a big segment of fans that like that mode, and they just want to know it's gonna be there. And if it was coming, you think they would say so. I don't think it's coming soon. I think it'll come later, and I think it might be even like, oh, it's coming as part of like the PlayStation 5 version, which is maybe one of the reasons why they don't want to talk about it yet.
Maybe they want it to be 60 frames or something.
I mean, I don't really know. But like as a personal thing, as someone who doesn't play PlayStation games for their multiplayer, and I'm not interested in it, do I care that Last of Us Part 2 has multiplayer is gone? No, I don't. I was never going to play it anyways, right? So I'm kind of like Gears in that sense. Like, I know people love Gears multiplayer, and I know people love Last of Us multiplayer, and yeah, they may be on different spectrums between how many people actually play it. But if they removed them from both, I wouldn't care, because that's not what I play the game for. Now, Halo, on the other hand, I'd be pissed.
Halo is synonymous with multiplayer. That's the whole thing, though.
But not everybody plays multi. I'm just saying, like, not everybody. My whole point is not everybody plays the game for the same reasons that you do. There might be someone who only plays Halo for the co-op and the single player story, and they couldn't give two flying shits that the competitive multiplayer was removed.
Oh, you just got demonetized. Right?
I know. I probably get demonetized again. These podcasts always end up doing. But then again, you look at Sony and they're like, they didn't include the multiplayer for, Uncharted Collection on the PlayStation 4 for whatever reasons. Like, a lot of their games this gen didn't have multiplayer. The ones in the beginning did. A lot of their games last gen did have multiplayer. They went away from that. They're talking about bringing it back. This wasn't something I expected, mainly because they talked about it a year ago. They were hiring for it. So I think something's going on here. And you would have to wonder, like, what is the holdup? Like, if it was coming later, if you just came out and said, yeah, it'll be here, it just needs extra time, people would be like, okay, because nobody really complained when Red Dead's multiplayer didn't come at the same time as the game. Nobody really complained that much when Grand Theft Auto Online's multiplayer was like 2 months later, right? Which ended up being like the biggest multiplayer game of the whole generation for the most part. So I think those people just want Naughty Dog to admit that they're working on it. Like, is that too crazy to like kind of say? I mean, I don't know. I'm just glad I'm not someone who enjoys Last of Us multiplayer, because today would have sucked. Because it'd be a mode that you're looking forward to, and they're like, yeah, it's not there. You'd be like, what? You know?
Yeah, I agree.
You agree. Anyways, the other issue that we kind of have to talk about that revolves around PlayStation because it affects Xbox is the Modern Warfare boycott thingamajig that's going on now.
Yeah,
So
Xbox loses DLC for a whole year, like Destiny.
yeah, so Activision, one of the slimiest publishers around, during State of Play announced that Modern Warfare on the PlayStation 4 had a mode within a mode. That's another thing people don't understand. It's not the entire Spec Ops mode, but a mode within Spec Ops.
It's the co-op mode, right?
Co-op mode. So Spec Ops. So it's like Spec Ops Survival. So that is exclusive for a year for PlayStation. And a lot of Xbox fans are upset because they saw this go down with Destiny for Destiny 1 and Destiny 2. A lot of content was time gated. And I gotta address Mr. Alex Escobar in the chat. He says, so wait, you quick to talk about the bad news but didn't make a video on State of Play? Xbox fans on YouTube are pathetic. My boy Alex coming at me. I didn't make a video about State of Play because I decided I was done making videos about State of Play and Inside Xbox because they aren't worth making videos about. So I just like Last of Us. I've talked about Last of Us and how much I'm looking forward to the game plenty of times. And the reason, and I don't know what you mean, like the bad news from State of Play. Like this is literally a mode that they announced during State of Play. It's got nothing to do about State of Play itself. That's what we're talking about here. And I'll be the first one to say, Alex, Inside Xbox is garbage. Inside Xbox is very bad. And I've told people at Xbox who work there that Inside Xbox is very bad and that they need to redo the show. So I've been pretty vocal about that. I haven't said much about State of Play because it's not worth making a video about. What do you want? You want me to make a video about how much I'm looking forward to Last of Us Part 2 again? Because maybe I will. Maybe I'll make a video about it tomorrow. Maybe I'll make a video about it tomorrow saying how much I'm looking forward to Last of Us 2 and then talk about the multiplayer situation. Thanks, Alex. You just gave me a good video idea for tomorrow. I appreciate it. Alex is funny, though. He's just giving me shit. You could have made a video on Last of Us 2 reveal and release day. Yeah, it's almost like some people have lives and I can't always make YouTube videos every single day of the week. If this was a Microsoft game, you've been all over it? Yeah, I mean, I do cover Microsoft games pretty frequently on this channel. You know, I am an Xbox fan, so I've talked about Last of Us 2 quite often.
Your voice sounds kind of emo.
Well, Alex is just he's just kind of
Emo?
He's just he can be a troll sometimes. It's fine though. It's fine.
Sounds emo.
Yeah, it's whatever. Name of the video: Last of Us 2 by Alex. Anyways, so Modern Warfare has the mode exclusive to PlayStation for a year. And all right, Jez, how do you feel about this?
Well, I'm not surprised because let's face it, it's Activision, who are kind of scummy. You know, let's not beat around the bush. They're a pretty scummy company. They told us last year that Black Ops 4 would have dedicated servers. It didn't. They lied. They told gamers that it wouldn't have loot boxes and pay to win. They lied. They added them in after the review period. So I'm not surprised really. And I've just kind of... They are just the worst, scummiest, slimiest publisher that seems to get away with all the stuff that we give EA shit for, basically. And I don't know why they get away with it. I think it's because they only really make one game, and like most people just accept that Call of Duty is this ridiculous cash cow where like Activision abuse the talents of their studios to make money for Bobby Kotick and his billionaire friend shareholders and stuff. Like, fine, it is what it is. I'm not surprised. Do I care? No, not really, because I wouldn't have played the mode anyway, and I ain't gonna buy the new Call of Duty because of the whole lying about Black Ops 4 having dedicated servers thing. Because I went out and bought it on the basis of it having dedicated servers, which they said to us in an interview. And when it came to playing it, it was like, oh, this is the same crappy netcode that Call of Duty's had for 50 billion years. Oh, look, player host migration. That wouldn't happen if it had dedicated servers. So no, personally I don't give a damn because I ain't giving them another penny for that franchise as long as I live. Now, when it comes to Xbox fans being pissed, I think like the only way you can really get at Activision for this is to stop it being worth their while, which is basically don't buy the game. Problem is, it's not going to stop people buying the game. You know, Call of Duty is going to be the biggest selling game of 2019 on Xbox because it is every year. Because nobody really cares about that stuff. Nobody cared when the campaign was removed. It was still the top selling game of the year, or one of the top selling games of the year. Nobody cared, Rand, because people just buy it year in year out because it's like a sports game now. It's the game people buy in the mainstream. It's a mainstream brand. So like all this talk of boycotting and stuff, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to dent the sales at all.
No, I mean, I
Just
understand. Yeah, I get it. I mean, because boycott Borderlands sold 5 million copies in 5 days, and the PC gamers were going to boycott that. Didn't really happen that much, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, I don't really think the boycotts really do that much. I'm buying this Call
we
of
should
Duty.
also talk about like harassing the developers and stuff. You don't.
Yeah, well,
that's pointless. It's
the,
not their decision.
Yeah, the developers. It ain't their choice. This is a choice made at the high levels of Activision. You know, Sony's like, we're willing to pay you money to market it, but you know, we want something for our money. And Activision's like, well, what can we give you? Because Activision wanted crossplay. And obviously, if you're doing crossplay, or Call of Duty wanted crossplay, like then the maps and the modes and everything that you can normally sell exclusive for 30 days can no longer be sold as exclusive, right? Like you can't do crossplay and then have like, well, these maps are only available on PlayStation and stuff for the first month. So it's like everything needed to like be set there. So you're looking at it as like, well, what can we sell? It's like, well, there's this mode within Spec Ops that's a survival mode that's probably going to be the least played mode out of everything. And they're like, all right, fine, give us that. Like, give us that multiplayer. And yeah, see, this is...
The thing is, it's not so much the mode, that's pissing people off, I think. Because, as I say, most Xbox fans, they don't care. They're not going to play this mode. Honestly, PlayStation fans aren't going to play this mode. PC gamers aren't going to play this mode. Nobody's going to play this mode. Everyone's just going to play multiplayer deathmatch, team deathmatch, like they always do. Because that's what Call of Duty is. It's a team deathmatch game, you know? But what is annoying is that it's the precedent, right? It sets a precedent, and it's just scummy. It's just lame, and it's just like it sets this sort of tone, like you're not as important a customer to us as these other customers over here. That's what it says, you know, and that's what Destiny said. It was like, oh, okay, you're gonna pay the same price as these customers, but you're gonna get less content. You just got to deal with it. You're not as important, you know. It's the tone and the precedent, which is the part that sucks. But the only thing you can do is just not buy the game, and just forget Activision, because it's Activision at this point. They are the scummy company at the top, doing all this crap. Like they did it in Destiny. They lie about their games. They put loot boxes in without the developer's permission and stuff like that. They don't care about making good games. All they care about is your money. They don't care about making good games. If they did, it would have dedicated servers like Battlefield and Overwatch have. They would have like more frequent engine updates than they do. It would have all this stuff that other game developers put in their games because they want to make a good game. Activision don't care about making good games. They care about making fat cash with the least effort possible. The only reason they've updated parts of the engine now is because it's getting to a point where they can't get away with it anymore, you know? And it's getting to a point where, I mean, if EA didn't screw up Battlefield 5 so much, Battlefield 5 was really, really coming close to becoming like a serious sort of second option for Call of Duty fans. Like, it was really coming close. And you had like, do you remember the whole dislike, the trailer dislikes for Infinite Warfare, and then Battlefield 1 getting all like loads of positivity and on all that sort of stuff? And now like Battlefield 5's just got a map that was promised in June, and it's only just come out. So like, but EA screwed all that opportunity there. But that's a whole other conversation. But
Okay, let me ask this question: if PlayStation is going to continue this, right? Because they do have a history of for the marketing that they buy for their games, they always tend to get some exclusive content for their customer base, which is something Microsoft used to do during the 360 era and even some of the early Xbox One era before Phil took over. Because Phil's talked about how he doesn't like that, how he's not a fan of that. But Sony really does do this, right? So if Sony's going to do this more often, which I think they probably will, we've heard that they're basically shunning indie developers and going and strengthening their relationships with AAA publishers for the PlayStation 5. Presumably money for marketing, and when Sony extends money for marketing, they want something in return, content that's exclusive. So if Sony's doing that going forward, does Microsoft have to fight that? Or
well, this is the other precedent that they're setting. And now notice how I blame Activision and not Sony for this, because what Sony is saying to its fans is, we will invest in you. We will invest in getting you exclusive content. And, I think that's a good thing for a publisher, platform holder to do. And when Microsoft says, like, and I love Phil, but when Phil says, I don't like doing that because I think it's bad for the industry, and it's kind of like what he's saying to a lot of Xbox fans is, and I respect that position. I respect the position that he wants to not play dirty and stuff like that. I respect that. But at the same time, what he's saying to some Xbox fans is, we don't want to spend the money to compete with Sony on those exclusivity deals. Which is like, and I can understand why. This is all about precedent. It's not about the mode. Nobody cares about the mode, really. It's about whether Xbox will fight to get those kind of deals for Xbox fans. I remember, like, they took so much flack and hatred for Shadow of the Tomb Raider being a timed exclusive. Right.
Rise of the Tomb Raider,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, Rise of the Tomb Raider. But like, they took a lot of heat for that, and a lot of criticism from all corners of the industry. But when Sony does it, nobody seems to mind so much, And I don't know why. It feels like a bit of a double standard to me, but that's a whole other conversation. Personally, I think Microsoft should go down this route too. I think they should do that, because like these indie exclusives are nice, but like they ain't sort of what I would call system sellers,
So So you feel that Phil has to do that to show Xbox fans that he will fight for them, that their dollar is as important to him as Sony's fans' dollar is as important to PlayStation?
Well, like, I think what Microsoft would do, and I can always sort of imagine what their marketing team would say, or what their PR would say, is like, we do that through Game Pass. Like, we spend that money and we give gamers value through Game Pass, which is like why we got Metro Exodus and stuff like that. And that is like really good value. But it's kind of like a lot of those deals, like, they're few and far in between on that sort of level. And I think a lot of people still aren't sold on the idea of Game Pass in general. And like, when Sony seems to just go after like the simple, easy to understand narrative, and it's just like, this is exclusive on PlayStation. This is exclusive on PlayStation. That's easy to understand for a normie, when most normies don't even know what Game Pass is, right? So it's kind of like, in a way, I still think that those exclusives set a powerful tone, which Xbox just doesn't have right now in a lot of ways. Do they
Hmm.
have to do it? I don't know if they have to do it, and I don't honestly have the information in front of me to suggest whether or not it even matters, whether or not most people care, whether or not the only people that care really are angry people on Twitter. I don't have that data in front of me, and I would hope that Microsoft does. But if I'm just talking out of my ass, which is what this podcast's all about, I would say I would prefer Microsoft did show that it's willing to go out and take those kind of deals like Sony's.
I think
If
Xbox.
Sony,
It's like what Subzetic says in chat. I think they're more interested in Game Pass deals than they are third-party exclusive stuff. So they'd
yeah,
rather spend their money on getting a game in Game Pass, or like, you have something like Metro Exodus, which Microsoft marketed. They didn't get anything exclusive for it, but it's possible, considering that game came to Game Pass, that maybe part of that was a commitment to come to Game Pass 4 months later, and that's
yeah.
worth it more for Microsoft than it is getting like an exclusive gun or some exclusivity on DLC for 30 days. I think the Modern Warfare thing is just a holdover from. I think the fact that they got a mode for a year is just from the fact that Call of Duty's moved in a direction where, like, since everything's crossplay and everything needs to be day one on everywhere to actually work, this was the only thing that they could sell, and it probably will happen for the next Call of Duty game if Sony re-ups their marketing agreement for it,
Do you
because
think this could be like like a consolation prize over Destiny
it very
leaving?
well could be. You're right. They had that strong thing with Destiny. They were supposed to have exclusive content. Now Bungie's in control. Bungie's back talking to Microsoft. Microsoft is advertising some of their stuff, so Sony may be looking at like, listen, Activision, you owe us something for our money. Like we want something. Like, and with Modern Warfare, they did get early beta access. Where it was like a week before and stuff like that. So it's possible Activision be like, all right, here, like this is to make it up for that. I didn't even really think about the whole Destiny thing.
Mm.
But I mean, like, with Modern Warfare setting the precedent that crossplay is a thing, and like the maps and everything are day one now, like they kind of got to continue with that for the next game, whether it's Black Ops 5 or whatever, because now you set the
And really,
standard
what
for your
what
own
else?
franchise.
Yeah. And what else do they have really besides Call of Duty and the Blizzard IPs? Which and I think Blizzard still probably has enough control to veto some of that stuff. But like, I don't know. I do think this is something to do with Destiny going independent.
Yeah, so
Probably.
Jay Slayer says, Rand, do you think Cyberpunk will come to Game Pass since Microsoft has the marketing rights? So here's the thing about that. A lot of the games Microsoft does marketing for, they end up in Game Pass. Devil May Cry 5, Metro Exodus, Just Cause 4. A lot of those games do. But they also have the marketing for the new Star Wars game, which they put out a new trailer today. Microsoft is also selling Star Wars bundles. Of course, not a custom bundle, which is a missed opportunity to have a custom Star Wars bundle in some way, like Sony did back in 2015. I think that's a missed opportunity not to have a Star Wars bundle, but no, I don't expect. See, I don't think it works for all that stuff. So, like, Star Wars definitely will not be in Game Pass because EA has their own subscription service that they want you to subscribe to, and I'm pretty sure hasn't been an EA game in Game Pass. So Cyberpunk, Microsoft does have the marketing for, but they also have the marketing for Witcher as well, and Witcher didn't show up in Game Pass. So I doubt Cyberpunk will show up either because CD Projekt Red just maybe not interested in that. Maybe they're just like, we're going to sell millions and millions and millions and millions of copies already, so we don't need, the extra money that Game Pass would give because we just want our game to sell. We want, like, who knows? So no, I don't think so. I don't think that'll actually happen. But I mean, do you think? To the boycott thing, Jez, should Xbox fans boycott this whole thing? At the end of the day,
Yeah, I think they should.
They
Just because
absolutely should. Speak with your
I think they
wallet.
should.
If
Just
if it
because,
matters to you, speak with your wallet, right?
yeah, speak with your wallet. If it makes you mad, then don't buy the game. Like, but I would have said boycott Black Ops 4. I would have said boycott the game before that. I would honestly say just boycott Activision because screw Activision, you know.
Yeah.
Which I'm a hypocrite because I love Blizzard games. So
Yeah. Shout out to Lumi for the super chat. Thanks for the support, brother.
it's tough, man, because like when like games and franchises you're emotionally invested in, like for me, like Mass Effect and World of Warcraft and stuff like that, are controlled by companies that are just massive assholes. It's kind of like I don't want to give those companies money, but the devs deserve to be paid, and yeah, it's really tough, you know. And again, like thinking about it, it's like, do I really think like it's worth boycotting over and stuff? Like those devs worked really hard to make a game, and like one of them actually like put out a tweet like, we put our heart and souls into this game, and like they're taking all the crap from Activision's behavior, you know, at the end of the day. But I can't think of any other way to make Activision listen or care. The only thing they care about is the bottom line at the end of the day. That's the only thing that can change things. And like, I'd have to hope that, you know, they would change if things got, you know, hairy for them. And the publishers are like, well, why does everyone hate? Shareholders are like, well, why does everyone hate you guys? Why is the money coming? Stuff like that.
Well, Combo 164 in the super chat says, so they should cut paid content for platform wars. Terrible road we're going down if that becomes the norm. And there is a sense, and people did bitch about this during Destiny 1 and Destiny 2, that if I'm paying for a product and the product I'm getting is less than the product someone else is getting, then I shouldn't pay the same price for it. Like, so in that sense, since that mode is gone from Modern Warfare, should Xbox fans pay less for the game because they're not getting the same product that PlayStation fans are getting? There is an argument to be made for that, Jazz. Same thing with like Destiny, when it was like one strike, a full strike, when there was only 3, was exclusive to PlayStation for a year. It's like, okay, wait a minute. I'm paying the same price a PlayStation gamer is paying, but I'm getting less content. You know? Like, that's like, eh. And it's not like for 30 days. It's not like, oh, it'll be out after, you know, like a month after, you know, the like Control. Like, oh, well, the expansions are first on PlayStation, but, you know, a month later. It's literally like a year. So it's like, should the game be cheaper for Xbox? There's an argument to be made there. Now, personally, you know, because people have asked me, are you getting Modern Warfare? And this kind of goes back to a little bit of tie-in with The Last of Us removing multiplayer, because I've told you before, Rand doesn't care about Call of Duty multiplayer. What does Rand care about in Call of Duty? Rand cares about the campaign. And I know that makes me weird, right? But I love Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 1, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, Infinite Warfare. Okay? I've bought them all. I mean, I'll try out the multiplayer here and there. I won't play it for long because I don't care about it, right? Last year's Call of Duty, Black Ops 4, did not have a campaign. It only had Battle Royale, which I tried out in the beta and I hated it. It had multiplayer and had zombies. So what do you think I did? I didn't buy the game because it didn't have the mode that I wanted to play. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, though, coming back, has multiplayer, a mode which I'm not going to play, and the Spec Ops mode with the survival, you know, like tacked on survival thing, which is exclusive to PlayStation, that I'm not going to play anyways. What is Rand going to play with Call of Duty? Oh, Rand's interested in the multiplayer. Or Rand's interested in the single player, sorry. So will I be buying Call of Duty Modern Warfare? You're damn right. Because what is the only thing that matters to me in Call of Duty? The single player. So I'm getting it. I didn't get it last year when it didn't have the single player, but I'm getting it this year because that is what I want. It'd be the same thing. Gear 6. Hey, we're announcing that Gear 6 only has single player. All right, day one, even more excited. You know, no multiplayer though. I'd be like, I don't care. Halo Halo 7 has no multiplayer, I'd be like, not getting it. It needs to have it. Not getting it. You know what I mean? Rand speaking about Rand in third person. Yeah, I know, crazy, right? But no, I'm getting Modern Warfare.
Right, you're a true YouTuber when you start doing
I know, right? Like, share, subscribe, and obey, as they say in the Borderlands. Oh God, Jez, have you heard anything about the Borderlands 3 villains? Oh my God, how cringy and bad and annoying they are. They're streamers, dude. They're streamers.
What?
Yeah, they're streamers. Their whole thing is like when they go live and they stream to their huge audience, they go like, share, and obey. Oh God, it's so horrible, dude. I know 9Live says, Rand, you're supporting these kind of practices. I mean, sure, I guess by saying I'm buying the game, that I'm supporting the practice. But then again, I can't. Here's the thing. I can't stir up outrage about something I don't care about. You know what I mean? Like, does PlayStation having that mode exclusive for a year matter to me? Now, I could put on a front and play a character and talk about how this should matter to you, damn it, because it matters to me, right? And I will not stand for this because outrage and controversy sells on YouTube like no other. Just look how mostly every video about anything is always negative. You should be outraged, right? But I can't do that. I can't care. I can't be outraged about something I just don't care about. So I look at it like, do I honestly care about survival mode being exclusive to PlayStation? And personally, I just can't muster. I just don't care. That's not what I play Call of Duty for. Like I said before, if the entire multiplayer was exclusive to PlayStation for a year, I wouldn't care. I'd still get the game because all I care about is the single player. Now, if the single player was exclusive to the PlayStation for a year, goddamn right I'd be fucking pissed.
Oh my God, you got demonetized again.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't know. It's just I don't know. I guess I'm just speaking my truth. It's hard for me to get personally outraged and upset about something that I'm not interested in. But I understand people's, like, if you're interested in that stuff, like, I understand that people pissed off about Last of Us not having multiplayer. I get it. I 100% get it. And you should be pissed off. And if you're interested in that mode and you don't like that practice, then yeah, I get it. I'm not saying you're wrong at all. Like, if that's how you feel and you're really pissed off about and all that stuff, like, 100%, you do you. I guess maybe it just hasn't happened to something that I personally care about. So it's like, I'm not at that point, but I'm not going to fake. I guess I'm just saying is I'm not going to fake it. I'm not going to, pretend that I care for, likes and views and, shares and stuff like that. Like, I just don't care. Does that make me bad, Jez?
No, it makes you someone who doesn't care.
Yeah.
And that's the luxury of not having to care so much about getting likes and shares, is that you don't have to be fake.
Yeah, but the thing is, I probably should care, because if I could, like, act outraged and be believable, then I could be like, Jim Sterling and Young Ye and Angry Joe. Like, we're so mad about microtransactions, like, oh man. Like, it's like every time there's a microtransaction story, here comes the usual suspects to, bank in on the outrage surrounding it, right?
Yeah. But you mentioned something which I wanted to talk briefly about. Well, I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but Star Wars trailer dropped.
Yes.
Did you watch it?
I did watch it, yes.
And what did you think?
I've been looking forward to the game, since it was announced. I think it looks cool. Respawn has never let me down yet. It looks kind of like Sekiro Light, and you know how much I love Sekiro. And
Do you really
yeah, I'm
think they're gonna make a Star Wars game as difficult as Sekiro?
no, obviously not. Obviously, they are not going to make a Star Wars game as difficult as Sekiro. I'm just saying it looks like it has elements of Sekiro, and it's probably going to be for someone like me who's a master. Well, not a master of Sekiro, but who has beaten the challenge that Sekiro's offered, and then destroyed Bloodborne. A game that was just so easy in comparison. Like I can imagine myself just blitzing through the Star Wars game, being like, I already played a harder version of this, with not, but it just didn't have, force powers. Now I got force
Oh my
powers.
god, Randy's so pro at games, man.
No. Trust me. Like
I have no idea how pro.
I spent a lot of time playing Sekiro. Like I spent like that first troll boss or like troll mini boss in Sekiro. I spent 2.5 hours fighting him. The final boss of the game took me 4 hours.
4 hours.
4 hours, because he's like he has 4 forms. So and every time you die, you gotta start off from the first form. So it's like, okay, finally I figured out the first form, and okay, I died in the second form, and it's like 45 minutes later, okay, I can do the first form and the second form. But oh god, the third form just wrecks me, and it's like an hour and a half later. Finally, I can do all 3 first forms, and it's like now the fourth form wrecks me, and it's like, you know what I mean? So it's like if it's Sekiro Light, which it looks like, and it's a Metroidvania because it's open world and you can go kind of like go to different planets and stuff, then I'm gonna enjoy it. I don't doesn't need to be as much of a challenge as Sekiro was, for me. Why like so? Did you like it?
I thought it looked interesting. Like, it's difficult because I've got this sort of impression of EA now, like that they can't make good games. So I'm struggling to let myself get too excited for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
'Cause
know what you mean.
I'm just sort of like, man, it's EA, come on. But like, I'm hoping, man. I got some hopes that it'll be good. Yeah, I love my Star Wars, man. I love my Star Wars. Like Disney Plus is a definite subscription for me. Even though like I absolutely hated the most recent movie. What was it called now? The Last Jedi. I can't even remember what it was called. My mind's trying to block it out. But I'm hopeful, man. But at the same time, I'm sort of keeping my expectations in check. It looks interesting. I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see. What I am excited for though is the Outer Worlds. Did you watch the Inside Xbox
I did.
clip that they showed?
Yes, and Outer World looks pretty good. Looks and that comes out what, end of October? Same day as Modern Warfare, I believe.
25th.
Same day as Modern Warfare. You want to talk briefly about Inside Xbox? Do you like Inside Xbox? Does anybody like Inside Xbox? I guess. I mean,
I hate Inside Xbox. And I feel bad because I know that they put a lot of work into it, and it's not easy, putting a live show together like that. But like it feels really off tone with it's just got this weird sort of fellow kids sort of over corporate, super safe vibe, which just doesn't appeal to me. And like I want to say like it's a matter of taste or something, but I don't know anyone who really likes it. So maybe like maybe it's aimed at more like normal people or something. I honestly don't know, but I am a big fan of it. I think they should do away with it? I think like they could stand to change the format a bit, like let the game speak for themselves a bit more. Um, Maybe do some off-camera interviews and stuff instead of like, I don't know, trying to be all cool and hip. Like maybe I'm just resentful because I'm not cool and hip. Do you think that's what it is, Ryan? Are we just not cool enough to like it?
I think the format doesn't do it any favors. I think the live format needs to go. There's no benefit for that show being live. I think the main issue with the show is they don't have the content to last an hour. So because they don't have the content to last an hour, it needs to be shorter. It needs to be half an hour. And if you don't need,
I don't know why it needs to have a strict format. Like every Nintendo Direct is a completely different length. Like why does they always have to? they should be looking at Nintendo Direct if I had to do these things. Like Nintendo Directs are just like, here's what you need to know, mostly from the developers, and like that's they just give you all the stuff you need. You know, you
Did
don't
you
need to like
did you watch the
see all
ID at
this cool.
Xbox?
I'm so hipster.
Did you watch the ID at Xbox Game Pass thing today?
No, I didn't.
Much, much, much better. That is the format they need to adopt.
I will check that out then. Because
It's quick. It's to the point. It's got new games, and the developer interviews are short and to the point because it's edited. It doesn't need to be live. There's no point for that show to be live, right? And if you say, well, the point is because you can have the ticker tape at the bottom with the tweets coming in from YouTube, from Twitter, it's like you can still have that in a recorded video. You know, like you just would run the same overlay for it. The main problem outside of it being too long for the content they have is whoever is writing the dialogue and the scripts needs to go. That stuff is corny and cringy, and the dialogue between hosts is completely unnatural. Like, they're asking the host to be, like, super energetic. Like, there's this clip going around of Ricari and Kate, and Kate's like, another game coming to Xbox Game Pass, awesome game, high five, and he doesn't high five her, so she high fives herself. Cringy, dude.
Oh.
It's cringy. You know what I mean?
Oh God. Like, why do they have to be fake, man?
I don't know. It's because I don't,
Why?
because I think it's part of whoever they hire out for the production team to write this stuff. Because I've talked to other people behind, you know, that know some stuff, and it's like Xbox writes them scripts, and it's like stuff you would never say in real life, but they think that's what gamers say. You know what I mean?
Epic gamer speak.
Yeah, so it's like I think they just need to call, like, it doesn't need to be an hour long. You're looking at 30 minutes max. It needs to be pre-recorded so you can cut out the stuff that doesn't work. The interviews need to be shorter, more to the point, more game footage, cut the dialogue, make it seem realistic, and you have a show. You don't need to do one, you know, maybe you do 4 a year, and that's it, and it would be fine. Take a look at the ID at Xbox Game Pass thing that they posted today. Much better format. It's like 20 minutes, and it's just boom, 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 game, quick interview, it's over, it's on to the next thing, right? The jokes and the stuff that they do are absolutely horrible for that show. And I think they want it to be different than State of Play and the Nintendo Direct. Like, well, Nintendo's already doing this, and Sony's already kind of doing that, which is basically the Nintendo Direct. We want to do this, and it's just like, it's not working. I don't know who it's for. It's not for anybody like us. Super hardcore. I can't imagine the casuals even know about it, would even watch it. So I just wonder who's the show for. And sometimes it does come across as an ad. Like, they're up there, you know, Jeff Rubenstein, who I like a lot, he's up there and he's like putting Rockstar cans on the table, like, pick up Rockstar, it's got 7 days of Game Pass. It's like, dude, that's a little cringe, man. Like, you selling me Rockstar energy drinks now? Like, come on. Like, you know, I don't know. Either way,
Poor Jeff.
I like Jeff a lot. He's a great guy.
I like him too. Like, why are they making him do
and
it?
I think they're just making him do that. It's just like, here's what we need to do, and here's what your part of your script is, and and it is what it is.
Sigh.
And during the show, they announced the Xcloud info, the sign up, finally coming. And before even getting to that, if you're enjoying the show, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more, podcasts like this and upcoming videos and stuff like that. Follow Jez on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter.
Full YouTuber.
Hey man, I only do it like once or twice during the show. I mean, it's like a 2-hour show that we do, so I only ask. I only ask if you're enjoying the show. If you enjoy the show, to hit the like button. If you're not enjoying the show, then don't feel obliged to hit the like button. I said at the beginning of all my videos, if you enjoy the video, hit the like button. Which means if you don't enjoy it, then I don't expect you to hit it. I get plenty of dislikes too. But yeah, Xcloud.
Why would you dislike Rand? That's mean.
Because there are
guys
people.
are mean.
There's all like when you get to a certain level of, like visibility on YouTube and stuff. Like people will click on your videos just to downvote it because they don't like you personally.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh,
That
Rand
old
posted a new
chestnut.
video. Click down. Like, okay. I don't downvote anybody's videos on YouTube. I either don't like, but I will like. If I like the video, I'll like it. But I never downvote a video. So
I downvote music videos that I don't like.
Okay.
That's it.
Music videos. Okay. So Xcloud info. So finally coming next month. United States, United Kingdom, and Korea, which was kind of a surprise, although maybe not really with that announcement they made that they were partnering with somebody. T-Mobile also announced that they're working together with T-Mobile and Xbox, which is the carrier I have. However, the big drawback...
Do you want T-Mobile?
Yes, I have T-Mobile. The big drawback is that there is no iOS. Well, outside of the fact that it's only in 3 countries, okay? This is part
That's
of
not
the...
a drawback. What are you talking about?
What? What do you mean?
That's not a drawback. Not being...
Yeah, I mean...
Sorry, I'm being a dick.
Only 3 countries, you know? But I understand it's a test. You know, they probably only need a few people. Like, they don't need everybody coming in there right away. I get it, you know? Obviously, United States, United Kingdom, the 2 biggest areas for Xbox. But Android only. No iOS.
Yep.
So if you guys recall, I recently switched from Android this past holiday to the Apple to iOS. I have an iPhone. I have an iPhone XR, I believe. So
Why did you do that?
Why did I do that? Because I don't. It's another thing. I don't care about the phones. I don't care about Android or Apple. But trust me, I know people do care, because when I posted that I switched from Android to Apple, holy cow. You think people are like PS4 versus Xbox versus Nintendo? I'm so mad, right? Ain't got nothing on that.
That's the only thing I really get fanboyish about is phone.
Yeah, like you should see my mentions for that tweet, because holy crap. Like, man, the people, how could you leave Android? Android's so much better. And then the Apple fans were like, welcome to paradise and being number 1. I'm like, I don't care. It's like, it's like, whatever. I don't use my phone that much. Like, I don't, whatever, right? So no iOS for Android. I did sign up for it though, because I still have my Android phone. I doubt I'll get into it because this Android phone is a piece of crap. LG, I think I have an LG G3. So I doubt I'll actually get into, and I'm not. That's not something I'll be using a lot. Like, I want to see if it works. You know what I mean?
You don't know, man. Like, you've sort of assumed this identity. I won't use this.
I know I won't.
I'm not a dirty mobile gamer.
I know I won't use it.
You might use it, man.
No, I won't. I already know I won't.
Use it.
No, I won't. I will not use it.
If it's super good, you might use it.
What? You know, this is the same thing my buddy Maka said to me when he asked me, what game was it? Katana Zero, right? He's like, or The Messenger. He's like, what? He's like, because I bought Katana Zero for the Switch, and it's also on PC. And he's like, well, why didn't you just buy it on your PC and play it on your PC? And I'm like, because my PC is hooked up to a 27-inch 1080p monitor, and my Nintendo Switch is hooked up to my 4K LG OLED B8, and I would much rather play a game on my television than I would on my computer monitor. And it's kind of the same thing with this. Like, I don't really want to play... If I'm going to play Halo 5 Guardians, I want to play it on my TV. I don't want to play it on my, iOS phone, my screen. Now, granted, like, oh, well, what if you have an iPad? Well, I don't have an iPad currently. So, yeah. But what do you think about iOS not being included?
What do you mean not being included? It's not Microsoft's doing, mate. And I'll tell you that right now.
Okay, I guess maybe the better answer should be, will iOS be included as part of Xcloud as a way to experience Xbox games on the go in the future? Is this something people can reasonably expect? Like, one day when Xcloud comes out of public trials, will iOS be a platform they can play the games on?
I think, like, the Android is easy because Google has a monopoly, pretty much. Like, I know iOS is big in America, but it's not anywhere else, pretty much. Like, Android is by far the biggest platform. And because of that, Google can't block services on their platform because regulators will be like, oh, hang on a sec, you've got a monopoly. You can't do this. It's anti-competitive. So Google can't get away with blocking xCloud on its platform, similarly to how Microsoft couldn't get away with blocking Steam on Windows, stuff like that. They've got a monopoly. They have to let it in. Apple, on the other hand, can sort of skirt around it to some degree because they don't have their install base isn't as big as Android, and they can sort of get away with it a bit more. Now, because of that, they can ask for like ridiculous requests of people trying to put their stuff onto iOS, and Netflix and Spotify have been critical of how Apple is anti-competitive when it comes to services on iOS and Android, because like especially Spotify released a whole website about it, basically saying like they're trying to make it hard for us to do business on iOS because they want to push Apple Music, blah blah blah, and they make us subjected to all these ridiculous rules which they don't subject themselves to. And it's sort of a similar sort of scenario with xCloud. When a major service from a competing platform wants to hit an iOS, they have to sort of jump. Apple makes them jump through hoops. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that it'll never come to iOS, because it probably will, and because Microsoft has enough clout that they can do a good deal with Apple to make it, worthwhile for all platforms. But now that Apple has Apple Arcade, it does frustrate things a little bit to some degree. Like Microsoft and Apple have worked a lot more closely in recent years than they have previously. Like Satya Nadella has been on stage at Apple conferences a lot, and they're not sort of, they don't hate each other like they used to some degree. But I do think like because of the arcade stuff, that it's going to be a little bit more complicated getting it onto that platform. Unlike Android, which is pretty much an open platform, pretty much, because it has to be, because Google would piss off regulators. So I think it will come to iOS eventually. They've certainly, hinted at that fact, but it should come as no surprise that every single test device for iOS, for xCloud, sorry, has been an Android device. Like at every show, it's always been Android. It doesn't seem like there's any form of beta for it on iOS right now, because they're still probably in negotiations with your boys Apple. So I do think it'll come, but it's just more complicated because of the way iOS is, I guess.
And shout out to Spitfire Spud in the super chat. He says, UK question mark. I am gutted it's not available in Ireland too, since we are literally next door. Come on, Microsoft / Xbox.
Yeah, that is weird actually, because Microsoft has a data center in Ireland and they speak English in Ireland. It makes literally no sense, but at the same time, Cortana isn't available in Ireland, which is also really strange. I don't know why that would be. I suppose I could ask, but like, they want this to be global. It's not going to be like Cortana, which is bound to cultural stuff and all that sort of thing. It will come to other countries eventually, and like I know from talking to people at Xbox that a lot of Xbox employees they've just been using it all over the world. It's already enabled at a lot of data centers all over the world, and they've been traveling and using it personally and stuff like that. So it's not like it's not gonna be there.
Do you
It's
find
just a matter of.
Do you find it
Sorry, go on.
strategic or interesting that they will have xCloud in public trials before Stadia launches in November? Even though I guess you could say Stadia did their public trials last year.
It does feel a bit weird, actually. Have you seen how bare bones the trial's going to be? There's not going to be any, like when they showed off the original concepts. There was going to be touch controls. There was going to be like a special UI specifically for each game, or like developers could tap into and making a touch UI for the game. And also there was going to be like special APIs for scaling text and stuff like that, because obviously like you won't be able to read text on a tiny ass screen, so they have to be scaled up and stuff like that. A lot of those features aren't going to be available in this preview. Like you have to use a controller, which sucks because there's no way to turn off an Xbox controller without removing the batteries when it comes to using it on other platforms, which is really, really annoying. And also, it's like there's only going to be 4 games available: Killer Instinct, Halo, Gears of War, and I can't remember the other one, Forza. So that's like a much smaller library than you might expect, and they've said like we're gonna ramp it up over time. We're gonna add loads more content and features and all that stuff as we test it out. But like, I do think like they've rushed it forward because of Google. I would imagine. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think they clearly did as well. A lot of the stuff has been in a response to Google and what they're doing, but yeah. So that's well, okay. My question is, are you gonna be, because like you're in that weird situation where like you're from the UK but you live in Germany, so are you gonna sign up for this, or is or is like press not allowed? Like, are you gonna?
I think like I'm gonna be traveling to the UK in October, November, so I'm gonna try and get into it like that, and
Okay.
then bring it back with me to Germany. But I don't know if it's just gonna be flat out blocked in countries. Like, will you be able to access it with a VPN and stuff like that? I don't know if it'll be flat blocked in those countries, but like as we saw with Minecraft Earth, it was possible to get into the beta in an unsupported country and use it in an unsupported country because there was nothing really stopping it. So maybe it'll just work in unsupported countries, and it's more to do with server stability than anything else. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to find out.
And want to give a shout out to Punch 180 in the super chat for an interesting question. He said, "Rand, you interested in Final Fantasy VII Remake? All the trailers only have PlayStation logo. So far, no news of a PC or Xbox version. I want for my PC, but for my PS4 Pro it is." This is interesting because Final Fantasy VII is one of my all-time favorite games. Like, if you're going to compile a top 5 list of the greatest games of all time, to me, Final Fantasy VII is literally in that top 5, if not top 2. It defined me as a gamer back during the PlayStation 1. It was the reason why I got a PlayStation 1, to be quite honest. Like, I needed that game. I remember watching those trailers where it's like the biggest movie event isn't at theaters. It's on a home console or whatever it was. Like, I won't go so far as it changed my life, but like it had a big impact in how like I viewed video games, right? So it was always the dream for them to remake it. So when they finally decided to, it's like, okay, it's PlayStation only, which I don't really have an issue with. I have all the consoles. I got a PS4 Pro. I got an Xbox One X. I got a Nintendo Switch, and I have a gaming PC. I can play whatever game I want on whatever platform I want at any time I want, right? So I like, the thing I'm a little concerned about with the remake is the structure of it. Like, they've already said it's only the Midgar section, and if you guys know, that's like the first 20% of the game. Like, and that's kind of like a good ballpark estimate. It's really only the first 15% of the game. So I look at it's like, all right, here's the thing. This game isn't going to be, it's not going to be finished by the time next gen comes around. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's ever finished at all, like how many parts of Final Fantasy Remake are we talking about here? Is this part 1? And then there's still going to be a part 2, and then a part 3 and a part 4? They're not really calling this part 1, it's just Final Fantasy VII Remake. So is there even a part 2 or part 3 or part 4? So I look at it, it's like, while I am a day one gamer, I mean, you guys know this, I play pretty much everything day one, whether I buy it or I get a review code or whatever. So yes, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I want to play the game. But then in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, wouldn't it be more prudent to wait for the entire experience to be out? Or even if I didn't want to wait for it all to be out, wouldn't it be a better choice to play it on next-gen hardware? Like, considering we're that close to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Scarlet, wouldn't it be better to just be like, okay, then clearly that game's going to be enhanced in some form for the next generation consoles. And I've seen some videos where, like, the combat looks frame ratey, right? Which you would imagine would be alleviate. Yeah, like the frame rate like tends to drop, much like how Borderlands 3 has frame rate issues during, when you play in performance mode. So I look at that, I'm like, would it be better served for me to wait it out and play Final Fantasy VII Remake on next-gen consoles when it's closer to like part 2 releasing, so I can play through the whole game instead of one part of a game? Because how long am I waiting in between parts here? That's kind of the big question for me. Now, knowing me, I'm probably gonna give in. I'm probably gonna buy Final Fantasy VII Remake day one. When in reality, I probably should wait for next gen and wait for it to be closer to the other parts coming. Um, Shady says, "So is Cyberpunk. Are you going to wait for next gen for that?" No, because Cyberpunk's going to be one complete package, whereas Final Fantasy VII Remake is one part of a play, and the other parts are coming later, if at all. Cyberpunk's going to be complete. So like, well, you could make an argument that maybe it's best to wait for Cyberpunk for next gen and Last of Us Part 2 and all the other games that are coming out, early next year. Like, I'm not waiting on those games. But with Final Fantasy, because there's the addition of like Part 2 at some point, it's like, well, maybe I should just wait. But I'll probably end up getting it day one. And then you don't even really know like how far does the exclusivity deal run with Sony? Will it be on PC a year later? 2 years later? Will it be on Xbox 6 months later? A year later? You don't really even need to. You don't really know. So yeah, thanks for the question though. But moving on.
I'm gonna wait because like, I'm like you. Like I love Final Fantasy is like a game I can't be objective about. It's my childhood, Final Fantasy 7, and like I was excited. I wasn't excited for it actually, man, because I was thinking it's gonna be this sort of awful, not like pseudo hack and slash gameplay like Final Fantasy 15. I absolutely hated Final Fantasy 15's combat system. It was boring, vacuous, like no skill involved, just spam. Just it felt like the game was playing itself, when I was playing through it, and I just hated that combat system so bad. And I was thinking like if it's going to be anything like that, I don't really want any part of it. But I did see that they're adding sort of a classic mode now where it's going to be like you can play it in a sort of more active battle time turn-based format. So that made me more interested in it. But then it's like you say, the game's just called Final Fantasy Remake. There's no Volume 1 or anything. There's no indication about how they're going to release those DLC episodes. And Square Enix are wishy-washy about this kind of thing. If I know Square Enix, they'll probably they're not going to commit to making another part unless this makes its money back or something. I don't know. They're kind of wishy-washy sometimes. So I'm just going to sort of wait and see, I think. I don't think I'm going to buy that day one. I think I might wait and see for an Xbox version because they never say it's fully exclusive, which should be a hint that it's probably not. And B, I want to see how they're going to format the rest of the game. Like, will we get the whole game? I feel like if you cut out any part of that, you've kind of ruined it.
Yeah.
I don't want them to like even like the annoying bits, like the Temple of the Ancients. I don't want them to cut that out. I want to see what that looks like in 2019. And all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. I'm gonna wait. Not that anyone asked.
Well, of course they asked. So they were. Aaron Greenberg was talking about Xbox Studios and how he's how Xbox gamers don't even they're not even they don't even know what's coming. Like all the good stuff that's coming. He said that there's brand new games coming from the studios, that there's new IP coming, and that there's gonna be sequels. And he specifically talked about 3 studios. He mentioned Ninja Theory, which he said like when they acquired them, they were already deep in Bleeding Edge production, which we talked about previously, and that the Hellblade team is currently working on something completely unannounced, which I have a feeling will be announced at XO19. Jez, do you want to see what do you want what they're working on to be Hellblade 2, or do you want that to be something brand new? You want it to
be Hellblade 2.
You want it to be Hellblade 2? Okay.
I want to see that franchise be, taken to its logical conclusions, I guess. But even if it's not Hellblade 2, if it's something in that vein, it should be pretty exciting because they're a pretty talented studio, my dude. But yeah, I've got it on good authority that XO19's probably going to be more interesting than a lot of people are expecting. Like given that I don't know. We talked about Inside Xbox and how that sort of people have pretty low expectations for Inside Xbox now. I feel like XO19 is going to be a special one for the year, closing that year out with a bang. I've heard some things, Rand. I've heard some things, my dude.
That is very, very interesting. He also talked about Obsidian, which is over 200 employees. He talked about how the team's finishing up Outer Worlds. There's another team on Pillars, and then the third team building something brand new, which Cloberl posted job listings for 12 today for a next-gen AAA RPG that Obsidian is building.
See, this is why I was talking about Bard's Tale earlier, because you can see that like the thing that constrains Bard's Tale is the budget. Like the art's janky, like the engine's janky, all that stuff is janky, and it's kind of like if they had the money, it'd be amazing to see what they could do with this format. But then you apply that to Ninja Theory, who clearly have the technical knowledge to produce something great. Like you play Hellblade, and it's so incredible atmospherically and art-wise, but so limited in its sort of gameplay scope and stuff like that. It's sort of like the studios they've purchased sort of like they've all had like different sort of constraints. But now they're all hiring, and like we should like see what happens when these studios reach their full potential and stuff. It's exciting stuff. And like I love Aaron Greenberg. Like Aaron Greenberg's a really cool guy, but you can never like he's the marketing guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he's hyping things up, you can never fully trust what he's saying. But I think like in this case, there's definite cause to be excited about what those studios are producing.
Well,
like, it's an exciting time to be an Xbox fan.
Ravenflow says E3 was supposed to be special too. I mean, yeah, like Phil hypes that up every single year. It's supposed to be big, and I understand like the whole like article was like Phil's like Aaron Greenberg pleasantly surprised by content coming from. Of course, he's not going to say he's unhappy with it. Obviously, like you present it as like as good as possible, but for a long time there's just people people were saying like. Microsoft forced Ninja Theory to make Bleeding Edge this garbage multiplayer game, which was completely untrue, which we nipped in the bud right away, which I had known in advance. And it's like, yeah, the Hellblade team is making something completely different, and they're the single-player team, and they want to focus on that, and this was a passion project. And I've even heard there's like a third team at Ninja Theory doing something else, right? It's not just the two teams. And it's like Obsidian, like, yeah, you got the Outer Worlds team, you have the Pillars of Eternity team, but like from what I had been told, like the reason they bought Obsidian was because there was this other project that Microsoft loved, and it was like, we need that. They got them, and it's just, there's a lot of misinformation, I guess, being spread about, so it's like, yeah, so I kind of like want to talk about in that sense. It's like, hey, like, I don't think people really understand like how many games Microsoft is going to be putting out like next year and then in the future for next generation. It's going to be way more games than they put out this generation. That is definitely for damn sure. Yeah. So it's and even when you look at like a studio who I'm not interested in, because he also talked about In Exile, which is like, I don't care about In Exile. But he talked about how they have they're building like something brand new. So it's like, you give the creative people at these studios the budget to build whatever they want, and they could potentially make something great. Like, I know you want Hellblade 2 from Ninja Theory. I don't kind of want Hellblade 2. I kind of want something brand new, because I don't think Hellblade really needs a sequel. But like I said, I mean, but that whole thing is like, well, that's in the future. But like even at the beginning of next year, you have Microsoft coming out with Bleeding Edge. You have Ori 2. You have Minecraft Dungeons. You have like Wasteland 3. You have Gears Tactics probably some point next year. You have Flight Simulator 2020. I mean, there's a whole bunch of games. Whereas like you go back the previous couple years and Microsoft was like one game, two game, one game, two game. And it was just like, it was always like beginning of the year, end of the year, beginning of the year, end of the year, end of the year. And it was always like, one of those games you could always count on being Forza, So it's like, now you're going to have, and I understand like Minecraft Dungeons is not going to appeal to like every single person out there, clearly. Or Bleeding Edge isn't going to appeal to every single person.
I'm telling you right now, Minecraft Dungeons will be next year's biggest game for Microsoft by a mile.
Probably, because Minecraft is just that big. Plus, it's also on every platform. But Shout out to Albert Padro Trias for the super chat. He says, since PlayStation is Spider-Man, what superhero game do you guys think Xbox could make? Also, side note, where is Batman Court of Owls game reveal? Oh, okay, I'll answer the Batman thing. Right, where is Batman? Where the F is Batman, Jez? Because they've been teasing that game on Twitter. They teased it for the 80th birthday for Batman. I thought it was going to be at State of Play, 100%. Nobody told me it was going to be there. I just thought, like, man, they're really hyping this up. It's going to be at State of Play, and then it wasn't. And I look at it, I'm like, okay, so it's coming. They're clearly teasing it, right? They wouldn't be teasing something this far out for XO19 in November or the Game Awards in December. Like, that's too far away to start, like, a hype train now, right? So it's like, and I was, so it's okay, it's got to be just a regular video announcement, maybe Game Informer cover article, and then, of course, I think Andrew Rainier of Game Informer said that's not true, that ain't happening. I think New York Comic Con's coming up soon. Maybe it's announced there, but like, yeah, where is that game? Because Warner Brothers Montreal hasn't made a game since Batman Arkham Origins in 2012. So it's been 7 years. They haven't made something in 7 years. Yeah, and there's been like rumors that they've had 2 canceled games. They had a Suicide Squad game that was canceled. Then they had a Damian Wayne sequel, a Damian Wayne-led Batman game sequel to Arkham Knight canceled. And supposedly this is a Batman game in the Court of Owls. So hopefully
I don't
it
know
comes
much about the Court of Owls stuff. What is that?
They're like I don't really know much about the Court of Owls stuff too. To be quite honest with you, I think they're one of his newer like kind of factions, I think. But that's supposedly what the game is.
It sounds like an Elder Scrolls thing. Court of Owls.
Court of Owls, yeah. I mean, hopefully it's soon. But as for the other question, since PlayStation is Spider-Man, what superhero games do you think Xbox could make? Like if we're just spitballing here, let's see. What superhero game would you like to see them make, Jazz?
I would like to see them make a Watchmen game.
Watchmen, huh?
Where you play as Rorschach and people. That'd be great. But I don't know which studio you put that on. Maybe the Initiative?
Well, it depends. Are we hiring out for an external studio, or are we having one done by an internal studio, right? So it's like...
Well, it'd have to be internal, because they don't own the license, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, they could get the license and then hire an external studio to do it. I mean, like, that's how...
Warner Brothers ain't going to give that license up. Oh, well, you mean like just rent the license or whatever?
I mean, Sony didn't own Insomniac when, it's like when Marvel came to them and it was like, okay, we're going to do it with Insomniac.
But they own Spider-Man, right?
I don't know how that whole stuff works.
Microsoft would have to license the IP from Warner Brothers.
Probably.
And then license another studio to do it?
Well, they just hire a studio to do it. It'll be
tons of overhead.
Probably. So, which is why, okay, you either have one of their internal studios do it. But it's like, okay, so there's Batman game. There's been a Green Lantern game, and that game sucked. I played that one. Played the Incredible Hulk game, which was actually pretty good. From the makers of Prototype during the 360 era. See, we have, there's a Captain America game, which was alright. Wasn't horrible, wasn't great, but it was good, which was a tie-in to the original movie. You obviously have the Avengers game coming, which looks like a kind of copy of Batman. So it's like, what could they do? Maybe, you know what? I want a
V for Vendetta.
I was thinking maybe Superman, but then again, I played the Superman game in the 360 and that sucked. Maybe Flash? Would Flash be cool? D.I. Almighty Spot and God, it says in chat, Wolverine, and there was a really great Wolverine game during the 360 era called X-Men Origins Wolverine. What happened was...
I thought that was going to become a franchise because
it was a really good game. It was a really good... You want to know what happened? Activision happened because the studio Raven went to be a Call of Duty DLC map studio.
God, that's depressing.
So yeah, Wolverine would definitely be something pretty cool, like the Initiative's Wolverine, like a third-person action hack and slash game. That would be pretty damn cool, in my
That'd be
opinion.
rad.
Black Panther game, where Ravenflow says, that would be pretty interesting as well. A lot of those obviously would have the same structure as a Batman game, third-person combat. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot you could pick from. Like a Green Arrow game could be interesting. Flash, I mean, I don't know how Flash would work considering he's super fast, but that'd be cool. Deadpool, which there's already been a Deadpool game during the 360 era, and then remastered for the Xbox One. Yeah, so there's a lot of... They don't really make a lot of comic book games anymore. It's probably because it's so expensive to make. So, yeah.
Yeah, the licensing creates like an overhead, which makes it hard. Sony was able to make Spider-Man so good because they own it, and Warner Brothers own Batman, obviously.
Yes.
But,
well, you know when
when
Batman Arkham Asylum came out, Warner Brothers didn't own Rocksteady. They had licensed the IP, did Batman Arkham. It sold so well and was so good, then Warner Brothers bought Rocksteady because of it.
Did Warner Brothers buy Rocksteady?
Yeah, Warner Brothers owns Rocksteady. Yeah, and they bought them after Arkham Asylum. Well, that's the thing. Rocksteady put out a game in 2015, Arkham Knight, and we haven't heard from them since. It's been 4 years.
That's a long time.
It is a long... Well, games take long times to make now. Like, you go back to last gen, you'd have Assassin's Creed game every single year. You'd have a Call of Duty... Well, they still do Call of Duty every single year, but, like, you have multiple games in a franchise, you know, like, every other year. And nowadays, it's like, you're lucky to get 2. You get, like, Uncharted 4 and Last of Us. You get Gears 4 and Gears 5. You're going to Halo 5 and Halo Infinite. It's like you're basically getting like 2 games from a franchise in this gen, unless it's like, you know, a game that is backed by multiple developers, like something like Forza, you know, like Forza Horizon, Forza Motorsport, and Ubisoft has a lot of their studios on Assassin's Creed, but it takes so long to make games now, and they're so expensive that you can only really expect like 1, perhaps 2 games this entire generation for a franchise. And then you look, it's like, there's not even a new BioShock this gen. I thought for sure that'd be something...
Oh my God, yeah. I didn't even realize that.
2K would do.
They just re-released a bunch of them.
Yeah, and even look at like, you know, Gearbox. Gearbox released Borderlands 2 in 2012. And then they came out with Battleborn because they wanted to be like kind of a, you know, multi-game studio. They had multiple hits. Battleborn came out in 2016, I want to say it was. They came out the year Overwatch came out because Overwatch destroyed it. So it came out in 2016, which was 4 years after Borderlands, completely bombed, and then they finally just got out Borderlands 3. So even with Borderlands, you only got 1 game because they wanted to do something different, and it completely failed. And even look at the Volition Studios. It's like they didn't want to do Saints Row anymore, so they did Agents of Mayhem, and that completely failed. And it sounds like maybe they're doing 1 Saints Row game next year. It's like you basically get maybe 2 games now, you know. So, and I don't know how next gen development's gonna work. It might even be less. So, that's something to think about. And then Borderlands 3 selling 5 million in 5 days, Jez. So much for the PC boycott of the Epic Games Store, huh?
Yeah, the boycott of the Epic Games Store doesn't seem to be going so well. I don't think. They're selling a lot of games on that store, aren't they? I think. I personally don't like the Epic Games Store, and I don't like Tim Sweeney, and I don't like what they're doing. But at the same time, it's kind of like people just, at the end of the day, they want to play their games, and they don't care what they have to click on in order to do it. I saw some people say that 5 million was low, trying to downplay that number. What do you think? That 5 million is low? Do you think they're unhappy with that number?
Do I think they're unhappy with that number? I mean, I think if it was also on Steam, it probably would have sold more. But
oh yeah, no doubt.
I'm not really sure the vast PC crowd is that like, I think most people are just like, if they want a game, they'll get the game no matter where it is, right?
Yeah.
Like it's more like that UK chart was like, yo, Borderlands 3 was down 50% from Borderlands 2, right? Physical sales. And people are like, oh my God, Borderlands down. And it's like, Yeah, because it doesn't include digital, right? And then of course as it comes out, Borderlands is like up 50% from Borderlands 2 because and it has a 70% digital sell-through rate. Like we're almost at the point now where games are going to be approaching 80% digital sell-through rate and it'll be at 90%. Like I don't like and then you start adding in streaming and more proliferations of game subscription services, like physical's on its way out. Like it really does seem like it definitely seems in a short span of 6 years when you go back and look at Microsoft's original vision for the Xbox One, and people were like, and then like 6 years later, they're like, fuck yeah, digital, right?
Oh my god, you got demonetized again.
Yeah, I know it always happens. Whatever, who cares? Trying to drive the point home across that people have really adopted to digital much faster than I thought they would, and I maybe that question.
Convenience, man. It's all that sweet, juicy convenience. At the end of
Yep.
the day.
And Borderlands 3 is the type of game where maybe you want on your hard drive, like Destiny, you can just like kind of start it up whenever. I think the digital splits will get even bigger next generation. GameStop will probably go out of business at some point. That'll just be the way it is. Like once again, another thing, convenience over convenience over everything. Basically, it has not the human condition like told us. Like we can look at the streaming services on for music and how that's all gone. Like it's just the convenience factor. People they'll take that all day, every day. And I'm a little down on streaming, like Xcloud and Google Play and Google Stadia. But who knows? Maybe people might like that convenience as well, and they'd be like, "This. I'm good with that."
If it works,
If it does work.
And I think it will. We live in volatile times, and I think a lot of the angst and the pushback comes from the uncertainty that comes with change. People don't want gaming to change, and there might be all sorts of cascading after effects of streaming taking off, and also there's a lot of concern with devs too. They say all these subscription services are going to create a race to the bottom where indie devs are selling their games for cheaper and cheaper, like musicians did, and basically bottom out the indie game industry like they bottomed out the music industry and stuff like that. There's a lot of concerns across the board, but you can't stop change because money talks at the end of the day. And if people want to spend their money on a stream service, then they will. If they want to spend their money on Epic Game Store digital sales and they don't really care about Steam because their identity isn't bound to a storefront, then that's the way it'll go,
Mm-hmm. Well, do you wanna take some questions on the show?
Yeah, let's take some questions from the peeps.
All right, so that'll be the show, guys. Make sure you hit us up some questions while we do this little outro. So we appreciate everyone being here. So if you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Follow Jez and myself on Twitter so you know when the podcast is going to actually start because we always tweet it out. We appreciate everybody watching later on Google Play or iTunes, or yes, we added Spotify. Link is in the description of the video if you want to check one of those services out and listen to the podcast at your own pace and your own time. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. But yeah, hit us up with some questions. We'll take a few and we'll get out of here because since we started an hour later than usual, I'm sure Jazz is probably tired.
I'm a bit tired.
FRX Ditch Patch Gaming wants to know, excited for Civilization 6 or Baldur's Gate?
I've never played Baldur's Gate. It's one of the sort of shame. I'm ashamed that I haven't played Baldur's Gate. So I'm not super excited, but I do like those kind of games. I like some of the revival games like Pillars of Eternity, stuff like that. Even though I never finished it because my god, that game is grueling and stuff like that. But I'm interested in that. And Civ is another game that I'm ashamed that I haven't really played because I like Stellaris and I like Europa Universalis and those sort of 4X strategy games. So I don't know. I've got Civ 4 and 5 on Steam. I bought them in the sales, but I've never really played them. Have you ever been into
I
Civ?
played Civ. Which one did I play on the 360? And I quite enjoyed it. So I am more interested in Civilization 6 than I am Baldur's Gate. If I'll play any of those day one, I don't know. But I'd be more interested in playing Civ 6. Shout out to the UK Dazarus Daz baby with the super chat. Appreciate that, Daz. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Next question we got here from, let's see, where is this at? Nicodemo Mastro Giacomo. I'm sorry if I screwed up if that's your last name, bro. I'm sorry if I screwed up your name. He says Matt Booty's going to be at XO19 in London. Does that mean a studio acquisition? I say yes. I think they will announce a new studio acquisition, possibly two at XO19.
I have no inside information on this.
Either do I.
Matt Booty being at EXO doesn't necessarily mean studio acquisition because he's also the guy in charge of making the
Yes.
games happen.
He's in charge of the studios, and it's going to be a celebration about what they're bringing for the future. But I think they're going to announce a new studio, Jez.
Yeah, maybe.
I
think so.
They're going to announce that they
idea.
bought Capcom and Rockstar and Square Enix and EA and Activision.
They can't afford Capcom anymore.
Jez,
Capcom is like on another level now.
This is Microsoft we're talking about.
Nah, no one can afford Capcom because they're the world's greatest publisher, man.
Do you remember Monster Hunter exclusive to Xbox, Jez? Would that make you?
Oh my god. That'd help them win Japan. Do you know how big Monster Hunter is in Japan? I don't think you realize how big it is. It's like up there with Pokemon. Like Iceborne has like billboard ads and TV spots and all sorts of stuff in Japan. Monster Hunter is like absolutely massive franchise in Japan. So if Microsoft got that exclusive, that might actually help them in Japan.
Yeah.
Or it just might make a load of people really mad.
So Snakes wants to know, Randy, have you ever tried the multiplayer in Last of Us? If not, bro, you gotta at least give it a whirl. Try interrogation. I've not played Last of Us multiplayer. I'm
gonna get. I only played it super briefly, and I didn't really give it the time it deserves. So I'm gonna go back and give it another try. If you want to give it a go with me sometime.
I mean, maybe the problem is like I don't really want to pay for PlayStation Plus.
Just get a free trial, man. No problem.
I think I've already used a free trial before. So
just spend some of that YouTube money, man.
Yeah, I'm not barely make any money on YouTube, Jez. I mean, I'll think about it. Maybe leading up to Last of Us Part 2, maybe I'll replay Last of Us 1 in preparation, and I'll check out the multiplayer because they are giving it away for free. Like PlayStation Plus offerings this month are insane. It's like MLB 19 and The Last of Us Remastered. Which, did you see the games of gold this month?
No, what are they?
What were they? It was like Ninja Gaiden 3, Disney's Bolt for the 360, and it was like Friday the 13th for Xbox One, and like Tengo the Elephant as the other game.
Tango wasn't so bad.
No, Tango was all right. Friday the 13th, I think, was a piece of garbage, if I'm going to be blunt. I played Bolt. It's one of those kind of easy gamerscore games that I talked about at the beginning of the podcast, and I never played Ninja Gaiden 3. But that offering definitely is lessened, and Virgil has kind of a question that goes along to it. He says, Virgil says, "Hey, Rand, are you ever going to do videos for Games of Gold again? It feels like it's been a while since we haven't gotten one of those." Yeah, I haven't done any of those in a while just because like they've mostly been terrible. And I don't really want to I don't know, like I just don't want to. It's like, yeah, and by the way, Games of Gold again, and they absolutely suck. You know what I mean? Like I'm not really interested in those videos. Like I want to do more of the Game Pass videos because they do, like, there's better games on Game Pass, and I've kind of gotten away from doing those because I've been a little bit more busier. But you can probably expect more Game Pass videos than Games of Gold, to be honest.
It's bad though, because like you would get hits if you made a video saying, "Oh wow, these suck this month."
Well,
People,
yeah, but then people will just accuse me of being negative for negative sakes, like, "Ugh," like
but
they're
that's how
free
YouTube works.
games. I just
How
like
YouTube.
I look at that list and I'm just like, like it's garbage. Like it's a garbage list. Like I don't really want to talk about it. You know what I mean? Like I just don't really want to talk about it. It's just so bad. Di Almighty Spartan God wants to know, when is Dollar Tree Gaming, aka Game Pass, coming to PlayStation? Ask Jez. So Jez,
Okay.
when is Game Pass coming to PlayStation?
Never.
Never. That's a long time, Jez. That's
What is it?
it's a long time. I don't think Game Pass will come to PlayStation. I think there's more of a chance it comes to Switch. Um, and that's, yeah, I think there's much more of a chance it comes to Switch with Project Xcloud, like the ability to stream the games to the Switch. I don't really think you'll ever see Xbox stuff on PlayStation, to be honest with you, but
Nope.
could be wrong. Who knows? Who knows? Like what happens 10 years from now, right?
Maybe Microsoft buys Sony. How about that?
Microsoft buys Sony. There was that rumor that Apple was going to buy Sony.
Hmm.
Or was Apple going to buy Sony Pictures? I don't know. But there was a rumor. I mean, I don't really believe it anyways, but it was like Apple was going to purchase Sony. It's like, well, that would be a big, big thing. I mean, it seems like all these mega conglomerates are just buying one another. Disney just bought
Capitalism,
Fox.
baby.
I think like T-Mobile and just merged with Sprint or something like that. Tis the Season says, is Jez looking forward to October 31st?
What happens on then?
I don't know.
Halloween?
That's Halloween.
Yeah.
So,
Does a game come out then?
I don't think a game is coming out then.
I have no idea what he's talking about then.
Yeah, RJ the Wrestling Guy wants to know, do you guys play wrestling games? I've been a diehard for almost 30 years, but they seem to get worse and worse as far as online. So yeah, there was at one point I was a big wrestling fan. Obviously during the Attitude Era when I was in high school with Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and Triple H and Monday Night Nitro versus WWE Raw Monday nights. Oh my god, it was so amazing. All my friends were into it. We'd have parties Monday nights at people's different houses with all, like food and drink, and it was, oh man, it was so great. Everybody was so into it. That was when
Same.
that was when the N64 was out, so then we would go and we'd play like, NWO versus WCW, like WCW versus NWO Revenge, or WWE No Mercy on the 64, like the greatest wrestling games. And then yeah, like I played some of the SmackDown games on the PS2, and even like on the 360, I played some of like the WWE 2K, like 2K10, but I don't think I've played a wrestling game from this generation because they've basically been all the same. I used to play, it's the same way I don't play Madden. I used to play Maddens, but then I stopped playing the Maddens. And it's the same way with the WWE games. It's just like literally the same shit. So it's like I pretty much stopped playing the sports games. And when I used to actually play them quite a bit during previous generations.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I used to play like NWO Revenge and No Mercy, even though I had the broken version of No Mercy, which was save games, which was gutting because it was probably the best wrestling game ever made, I would argue.
Yes.
At least out of the ones I played. But after like, who used to make the PS2 ones? Was it Jukebox or Juke or something
Ukes,
like that?
I think, or
Ukes,
maybe it
yeah.
was.
I
Yeah.
don't know. They had a weird name. But like after those, I sort of stopped. It sort of coincided with me just not getting out of wrestling because the Attitude Era ended, and it was all like John Cena being shoved in my face, and I was like, oh man, this sucks now.
Yeah.
This sucks. All my friends moved away, had to become an adult. Man, wrestling
Had to
kind of
grow up,
represents
yeah.
the death of my childhood. Yeah.
Shout out to Indie Gamer for the super chat. He says, awesome show as always, guys. Appreciate it, Indy. Glad you're here every single week. Glad you're enjoying the return of Rand's New Spotlight. We're going to get more of those coming as well. It kind of sucked that I didn't care for Sojourn, but it is what it is. I basically tell you what I think about a game. FR Dispatch says Rand juices gamer score roids. No, I actually got a ton of gamer score when it was actually hard to get gamer score back in the 360 era. It's not roided out like it is for people. Swag Boy wants to know, hey Rand, did you beat Cuphead? Indeed, I did beat Cuphead.
Oh my god, I never beat Cuphead.
That's the thing.
When I
Uh,
stopped playing. Like, oh man,
I
I'm
know
gonna go back.
I know there's a lot of podcasts out there that talk about topics and stuff, but um, me
No, you're
personally,
going.
like
I know where you're going with this.
I actually play video games too. Like a lot of them. Like I could list you. I probably have beaten like 30 games this year. I could probably list you. It's like going down the list: Resident Evil, like Division, Sekiro, Far Cry New Dawn, the Metro Exodus, Days Gone. I keep on going down the list, and I can keep on naming games I beat. You know.
Man, I only beat games when I've got to review them now. Like, I
Mm,
barely have time to actually beat them for fun.
yeah, that
Really
sucks.
lame. You know, I'm gonna tell you a secret, Rand. I've been playing a game this whole stream. You can probably hear the
Actually, no,
controller
I haven't
clicking
heard
away.
it. What have you been playing?
I've been playing Link's Awakening the whole stream.
Ooh, the new Switch game that just came out.
Yeah, and it's really really charming. But I will tell you this: it has awful frame rate issues, which I never read in any of the reviews.
Really?
I'm talking like 20 frames per second here. Like, there's this section with water and
Actually,
smoke and stuff.
actually, I did
Wow.
see some people talking about that. Like, I think I saw like Spawnwave and Spawnwave talking about that. That the
Well,
game
it needs an
has.
update. Man, it is really fun. I never played the originals of the game. I've only played Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, really, but it's a really good game. I
But
kind of wish like Microsoft would just. I mean, this is off topic again. I kind of wish Microsoft would just make some little cute games like this with some of their dormant franchises, like Viva Pinata and like Conquer and stuff like that. Like, why don't they just make like a little fun game like this? Like, this isn't like going to be a 50-hour slugger. I've already unlocked like half the map during the whole stream, like more than half the map, and it's just really charming. And I feel like Microsoft could make games like this. Why
mm,
don't they? Uh,
we got one final question before we get out of here, and Daz wants to know when is Jez gonna follow me?
who said that?
UK Dazarus, Daz baby.
Don't I follow you already?
Jez doesn't know who he doesn't follow.
I don't know. I'm like, I don't know.
You gotta follow the Daz baby.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will. I'll check your feed and see if you retweet 50 giveaway tweets in a row. And
And uh and,
if not,
and
then maybe you
toxic
get followed.
toxic fanboy bullshit, right?
I hate when like sometimes it comes up in my feed like 50 retweet this to win something. Things come up in my feed and it's just like, oh, I'm unfollowing you.
Hmm.
Sorry. It's mean. I
All right,
know.
guys. I think that's it for the show. We appreciate everyone being here. Hope you, for those listening later, enjoy it. And we will be back next week for another brand new show of the Xbox 2. So if you enjoyed this show, hit the like button, subscribe, follow Jez on Twitter, follow myself on Twitter, and we will see you next Thursday, hopefully. Right, Jez?
Hell yeah.
All right. Have a good one, guys, and happy gaming. Later.